Okay, going live. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hello, Tom Lavecchia here with a very, very special edition of the NBA and the Button Man podcast. Got a very special guest today, Vinny Bracco, who is the Brooklyn guy. Vinny Bracco, how you doing?
I'm good, Tom. How are you?
I'm well. Okay, hold on. Let me just confirm that this is a new live. Of course, I got the thing set up. All right, we should be good to go. All right, so before we start, we're going to do a little bit. Now, he's inside. I know how it is, so I set up outside for, I think, for one of the first few times. I'm going to have a little cigar here. Maybe we can convince Vinny to go outside later on to have it. I have a nice Barolo wine with a little wine and cigar night. And we're just going to get to know each other a little bit. It's going to be
I have an Amarone.
Beautiful. Amarones cover from Veneto, Italy, and are one of the best wines going. What did you eat with it, or are you going to have it on its own?
No, I'm having it on its own. I bought it a couple of years ago. I bought a bunch of bottles. It's 2013 Familia Pasqua.
Yeah.
It's very good. And I had a bottle, I guess New Year's Eve, and I just opened this one up.
Fantastic. I'm a big Amarone guy. I love Amarone. I'm a little bit of a wimp sometimes. I only have like Amarone when I eat, like, have your steak or have your meal or whatever the set is.
Right.
So same thing with Barolo, but Barolo's a little bit more mild. So I'm having a little Barolo today.
Okay. Have you had a La Herencia cigar? Have you tried that?
No. What is that?
Pretty good. It's a Cubana. A friend gave it to me, and right now I wish I was outside, man. But you know what? When you come in, we'll go to the cigar bar and we'll do it.
We'll do it correctly. Well, how to get my NBA rating in a little bit. I'm doing a classic, or at least a classic for me, a Romeo and Julieta 1875. So if you're in watching, let up your cigar, have your glass of wine. It's going to be a conversational piece tonight. It looks like we've got 22 people watching. Lexi, how are you? Michael, Linda, go. You're Sean Bex, Yankees for life. Rodney, Yankees for life. So we're going to kick it off. All right. So Rodney.
And let's kick it off. Let's kick it off with this. He is so used to saying the NBA and the button man. That's how you opened it up. I'm not a button guy. You were used to saying button man, I guess. This is the armchair NBA.
Oh, did I say NBA button man just now?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
No, before when you opened it up, I believe you said NBA and the button man.
If I said the old show, I apologize. You're fault.
I don't need the feds thinking I got my button, Tom. I had enough problems.
Agreed. Hey, how are you, buddy? Alexi's excellent cigar. Listen, I gotta be honest with you. It's a transition. I did my New Theory podcast earlier, which I'm gonna run by you because it's a pretty interesting character. All right, guy. All right, so let's start off. You kind of got a little later in the game in MobTube. You're Vinny, the Brooklyn guy, which I love the branding. So many things with that. But first, let's start off with who really is Vinny, the Brooklyn guy?
A bipolar maniac who tries every day to put on a facade to act like a guy that everyone could accept. And my life experiences prove it. I don't know when I became bipolar, but when you're diagnosed, you go back and say, hey, was that? And you try to make excuses for your behavior. I never wanted to do that because that lets me off the hook. It's kind of like the old saying, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not talking about you. So, and in retrospect, I look back and I say, just because I'm bipolar doesn't mean I was wrong about everything.
Yeah.
Now, maybe the way I handled it and held on to things, maybe. So when I got diagnosed in 2007, I said, well, who am I? And Tom, that was I felt I was living a lie for all the years. Like,
wow,
who am I? And
but hold on, before you continue, it's you, not that it's your identity, right? It's your mental health is just a portion of who you are,
right?
But you operated a certain way, you did things a certain way. It's going to sound weird, like having a certain illness like that. Like there's some people that, like, I have ADD, right? And I don't think if I had it, I'd be as successful because I need shit done now. I can't pay attention. I move on, but also hurts me in the long run in some ways too, right? So like in a weird sort of way is you were doing certain things that you were accustomed to, but then when you have to do a mental health check, it's total reevaluation. So when you got diagnosed, is this something you kind of knew about all along, or is this something that was it getting hit by a bus? Like, walk me through that.
Well, I'll tell you, I was a guy that played music in the 80s. I worked at a club. I was a security guy. And the thing was, in the 80s, if you weren't out till 5 in the morning, you were the minority back then, not the majority, because there were people in that club at 4 in the morning that had work the next day. So I looked at myself and said, well, everyone wasn't bipolar. I was just a guy that liked the nightlife.
Yeah.
Come my 30s, 35, when I still like the nightlife, then I think, oh, maybe I'm just an idiot. Maybe I just never want to grow up. I look back, I stare at the rearview mirror. And then when I got diagnosed, I said, no, you know what? I could see why everybody's annoyed at me. And I just tried to take stock in the things I did. I didn't want to let it define me, but I did want to know inside, am I that guy that acts crazy with no limitations and doesn't think of the consequences because of the illness? Or is that just me? Or am I a combination of both? Because there's no blood test for bipolar. They can't say, Ben, at 21, you became bipolar. Maybe I was just an ass and I became bipolar at 45. I don't know. And I wanted answers. Like you, I'm a guy that is a go-getter. I was a stockbroker. I don't go for, well, it can't be answered. Well, you find the answer. I got time to sit here and let you think.
Correct.
But thinking
Florida attorney associates the 80s with some snowflakes and some other stuff, which I do want to get into, because the drug use typically manifests itself when you suffer from bipolar, which we'll get to.
Absolutely. So I just I had a lot to think about when the doctor diagnosed me, and I felt, well, either I could use it as a crutch and blame all my past on, well, that's why I did that. Sorry. That's why I did that. Sorry. Yeah. Or I could say to myself, you know what? If you don't know what it is, examine all possibilities. Just like you do. When you do your businesses, you try to look at every side, and then you're probably still missing 50%. Yeah. Well, that's what I did with myself. And I started YouTube because I thought it would be a group session anytime I wanted to go on to get help. And it's helped me a lot. But who I am now, I'm here speaking with you, having a wonderful time. I take it hour by hour, and that's the only way I can make it.
Love it. Quick shout outs. Damien, how are you, buddy? Great seeing you on. I appreciate the support. Rodney, Bay 8th, as always. Welcome. So background. You grew up in Brooklyn. You're a Bensonhurst guy, Bay Ridge, Decker Heights. Where are you from?
We moved around a few times in 10 years. My dad was ill. We started out on West 4th, North Kings Highway, which is Bensonhurst.
Yeah.
Went to Shore Haven, right where Jimmy Calandra's from. Okay. A few blocks from him. I'm about 8 years his senior. Yeah. And then I went to Coney Island Avenue.
Interesting.
With a shortstop at 18th Avenue. So.
Now, question though. So when you kind of came into the genre, you almost got like shoehorned into the mob genre. So was it like kind of like, hey, I'm gonna talk a little bit about it, and you fit right in, or did people just assume Vinny from the Brooklyn guy was a former Wise guy? Well, because I was always wondering that where you landed.
That's a good question. Originally, I didn't want to go in the mob genre, and not for any other reason, but I didn't want to talk. I have people in the street that I'm friends with that are still in the street, and I didn't want to. And I have a great story for that. So,
please,
I wanted to do the mental illness thing.
Yeah,
got caught up in the mob because obviously I wasn't a made guy, but like I knew John Panisi 20 years ago. I met him a couple of times, gentlemen. Wish him well, and I just felt that. Let me tell the stories that I was involved in, because I knew a lot of people. My uncle was Anthony Spiro, the union leader. So I figured, let me just try to work it in my personal experiences. Yeah. Now, did I say Anthony? It's Anthony Scotto. You see, I don't even know my own cousin.
I was going to say.
It's because I'm always talking about Spiro.
Anthony Scotto just passed?
Yeah. And Rosanna Scotto is an anchor.
Yeah.
His daughter. Yeah. I hadn't seen him. Thank you. I hadn't seen him in 20 years. Yeah. But a good guy, But so I just I started talking about my stories, And the funny thing, Tom, when I talk about my stories, it reiterates the attitudes I had living vicariously through other people, feeling that I get the ramifications weren't there in my head. I didn't realize what could happen. So I talk about it to remind myself, you did that. This isn't a novel. This isn't Calandra you're hearing. This isn't Benici. This is you that were involved in that. So you can close the book, close the YouTube, and they still live their lives, and I'm not guilty. When I think of things I did, I say, never want to do them again. So that gets me through by mentioning it. It keeps me strong.
So hold on. So this is the real deal reality, right? And same thing with me, where I kind of launched a show, and although it was with a guy in the life, now I'm kind of trying to mix it up a little bit. And thank you, everybody's watching, and the support has been great. I thought the channel might have been done. It's actually starting to grow some really strong legs. What's sad is if you're like, hey, I'm Vinny the Brooklyn guy, I want to talk about my mental health first. Hey, I'm Vinny the Brooklyn guy and I hung around knockaround guys. It's interesting because in the beginning, you have to kind of shoehorn into a genre. You work the mob genre and it'll kill it for a while, right? It'll cap it, but it'll kill it. But then you're like, well, wait a second, I got a message. But I got to be honest with you. I think you were going to get a lot of people listening to your message. Sprinkle the mob stuff, of course, because it's fun. But people are going to get your message. I'm telling you. So my big thing, and I want you to tell me, you're going to be my therapist for a second. I just think Italian Americans, I think it's a great culture. I think I know it's a great culture. It is about family. It is about camaraderie. It's culture, food. Like I always say, like Italy is the best country in the world because it has the best of the best, whether it's Stradivarius violin, Ferrari cars, what is it, Luxottica glasses, and with no natural resources. That's what people have to understand. Italians are not great with budgets, but they can design anything, and it's a beautiful country based off that. But in the mental health side of things, I remember I grew up with like people from the other side, which my mother was great, and also suffered from mental health as well. I'm still opening up a little bit about that. Okay. But I want to say though is Italian Americans have historically, in my opinion, could be wrong, and if any people in the chats give their opinion, haven't been the super champions of mental health. Go for a walk, smile, break up with that girl, stop drinking, whatever it is. It's not, wow, you might have a chemical physical imbalance that's physiological that's preventing you from acting normal. So walk me through your experience as an Italian American and mental health. That's a part I'm super interested in, Vinny.
I think it's much like the baseball player in the old day. You get hit by a pitch, put dirt on it, rub it on, and go to first base, and don't show any pain. I think the Italian culture is very alpha. I think that there was always that background of mob. They were looked at as strong men that took care of their families, whatever they had to do. They immigrated here. They did construction. They built them. They built America. And what better way than to be forceful? And I think that I do think now that I get older, I believe the Italians do get a bit of the mob. Listen, I always thought that's why there wasn't an Italian in the White House. You go to Iowa, they know Michael Corleone.
Oh, your connection is off a little bit, Vinny.
And I think that
hold on,
it's lessened.
Hold on, Vinny. Vinny, you're cutting out a little bit. You're cutting out a little bit.
Can you hear me?
I can hear much better now. Can you repeat that?
Okay. Where did I let off?
Repeat back the last 37 seconds. I'm gonna do a quick poll.
Okay. Pretty much, I think that Italians are they have to be positive within themselves. Because I think like any other culture, they feel they got railroaded in here. You hear it on The Sopranos. Oh, we came here, we built America, and then we got shit on. And I think that sometimes the alpha takes over in the culture.
Yeah.
And I think that it's changed, but I do think that our culture, because you're Italian, is such where we feel we have to go get it ourselves. Nothing's coming to us. And I always thought that's why men were aggressive, because they didn't think they were being handed anything. And you know what? I have to get it, and whoever I have to knock down for it, well, you know what? Then step aside and don't be in my way. And that's how I always thought about it. And coming from Bensonhurst, I saw that.
Well, I think also the old school Italian guys, whether they're from the other side or grew up Italian American only household, I think it manifests in different generations. You gamble too much. You had a gumad. You maybe maybe you would I don't know, like you would go play cards and maybe stay out late too much because like you were trying to nurse like some feeling you had. I'm not calling like or maybe like you didn't have a great marriage because you didn't talk and communicate. And again, I'm not expecting everybody and people always take it to the extreme. You got to go to a psychiatrist. I don't want drugs, and all of a sudden it goes away. I'm just saying is if you have some mental health issues, it's okay to seek help and it's okay to
Absolutely.
and the reason why it's near and dear to me is my mother had some pretty severe mental health issues, but she didn't let it get in the way of her daily activity, but it did manifest in other ways. And I do feel she was either manic depressive or bipolar. And a little later on in the year, she started to work with it a little bit. But it takes a toll. It takes a toll. So let's get to the good stuff. Give us your first interaction, whether it be kid or adulthood, where you really came across what Cosa Nostra was and what Italian Mafia was.
Oh, that's easy. When I was about 18, 18th Avenue, there was a guy that was very respected, Sonny Giuliano. Everyone knows who he is. And I owed him $2,000, and I was gambling. I used to first I walked into the betting shop next to the car service where he wasn't there, but other people were there. And then, of course, you're playing. Hey, you're closed at 6 o'clock on Sunday. I want to play. They gave me a phone number. I lost $2,000. I went into him. He knew I didn't have the money. This guy's been in the street all his life, and ended up becoming friendly with him, but saw that the kissing hello and people walking around kissing his ass, and I said, that's a good job, but I realized when I heard a story that, when I was in college, I worked at this car service and this on 86th Street, and there were two partners. One partner was a big gambler, borrowed a ton of money off him, thought his grandmother was going to die. They gave the grandmother a week, took 20 grand. The grandmother didn't die. Sonny walked in. I saw him pull a sink out of the wall and throw it through the window. And I said, well, there's the guy that's not smiling saying you want a piece of pizza. That's when I saw it for the first time. I was about 19. Wow. And then I realized, and then I happened to meet other people because I was in that neighborhood. And I realized, you know what? I snowed myself into thinking, well, that guy probably deserved it because he screwed him over. Sonny's not like that. Look how he acts with me. But, you don't get to that position unless you're more like that, And then I just got older and got away from it. And then always like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I was a stockbroker, but yet was mesmerized by that Italian, the respect that you got from there, other than the respect as a stockbroker, not shaking my hand. Hey, you made 8% this year. Thank you very much. It was that the way people looked at you, that not so much fear, but there was a lot of dichotomy there. Everyone was duplicitous. I'll tell you why. Even in The Sopranos, everybody knocked Bobby Bacala.
Yep.
Right? Because he didn't have a gumad.
Yep.
Right? No one knocked Johnny Sack. He didn't have a gumad. Very, very devoted. No one said a word about him. So, and I believe that's the way it is in the mob. I think it's what you could do for me today. And if you're not doing that much for me today, well, I'll give you a reasonable amount of time to do something for me. But after a while, I'll find another one. And that's what people have to realize.
So I also go by how old somebody is and their views of the mob. And I think in the comments they'll agree. Who said it the best? Anthony Arlotta. He goes, anybody over 50 views a mob as like prestigious, like kind of a big deal, that kind of stuff. Anybody generally under 50 saw the newer mob and doesn't really know what it is or got like the tail end of the stick. And I'm going to be 46. And I agree with that because, like, for example, anybody I knew that was connected growing up in the 80s, if you were, or 90s, you were a drug dealer like that. Like, that's what you did. And, I don't know historically if like wise guys dealt drugs. I know like made guys did and all crazy heroin deals, bigger deals. but I'm talking about low level shit that's like kind of like that ruins families. All right. So my question is, what part of the mob did you catch? You know, like kind of the golden years, or did you catch? You kind of knew these guys were maybe not, you know.
I caught. Well, that was 1980 when I met Sonny, but
Yeah.
I caught the 80s where, you know, guys were coming up. John Gotti was coming up. I heard his name in my neighborhood. Actually, I met him before he was the boss. There was a place I never knew, Nicky Holiday's. He was in there. I met him. A friend's family member was with him. And, you know, very nice. They're nice to you if they don't know you, obviously. But
Yeah.
I think I caught it in the 80s was the wild, wild west without getting caught. The 90s, you know, I think once Sammy Gravano ratted, they said, hey, if he could rat, anybody could rat, you know,
Yeah.
and I think he set the precedent. Also with the RICO, you know, you weren't facing a year anymore. You were facing 10. I think that in the old days, they used to take care of your family if you went away for 2 years. There was a $800 envelope every week for your family. Now they didn't take care of you. And I think people that gave people the excuse to say, screw this. What are you doing for me? Now, I don't think that's a reason to rat because your wife didn't get paid.
Yeah.
But I think people have to justify it any way they can. And that's where the mental aspect comes in. Where are you justifying it for your family? Because, Tom, I could do 18 months, but my family did 100 years in that 18 months.
Yeah.
I shame them. They're never getting over it. And I'm going to live my life, not as the guy I was, but trying to make it up. So right there, I've changed for the rest of my life. They have changed for the rest of their lives.
Right.
So whether you're together 8 months, 18 months away, it's causing tremendous grief. But guys just think, I did my 12 months, you go home and make believe everything's okay. It's not. And I think that's what the difference is now. I think it was much more accepted criminal behavior back then if it was the mob. If you were doing anything else, you were no good.
Correct.
If Uncle Joe was a gangster, well, that's part of our culture. So we excuse him for going away. He did 5 years because he always provided for Aunt Jill. You know what I mean? Now, no, he's a criminal. And I think people look at it differently now. The 90s changed everything, I think.
Well, so you have an MBA as well, correct?
Yes, finance.
Finance. Okay. So you're a smart guy. You were, you know, I hung out like in Diker Heights in the 90s. I was a little behind you guys. I was like, you know, you were before Jimmy. I was after Jimmy, but I was not a street guy. We just hung out and we were young kids and it was fun. But the funny thing is, like, I don't know, again, in my generation, like the smart guy didn't go in the mob. The even like the not smart for academic, who cares about that?
Right.
But like the guys that kind of went in were the guys that like didn't, at least that I know, weren't like the top of the heap, right? So I can't imagine that recruitment for the next generation didn't hurt, you know, Cosa Nostra, right? So in your opinion, as a guy with a foot in each life, as an MBA, as a smart guy, now that you're a little older, what mistake or mistakes did a Cosa Nostra make post Sammy today?
No, I'll give it to you. When everybody went away in the administration, you had to rebeef and make guys that were associates. Yeah. And to me, why weren't those guys made as associates before everybody went away? So you probably took people that weren't worthy of being made, or they would have been made. You're taking a lot of 30-year-olds, like Vietnam, remember? 18-year-olds ran to the front line. You know why? Because young testosterones. You know, the 25-year-olds are behind because they had a kid. I want to get out of the war. I think the young people have a lot to prove. Yeah. I think that when the old timers went away, they had to make people, so they gave buttons to guys that weren't doing work. A lot of them had bookmaking operations. They were putting money. You know, I know a guy that put $2,000 a week in a wise guy's pocket.
Yeah.
Because he was making $20,000 a week in the islands with gambling. And you know what? He wasn't a tough guy. No. He bought his button.
Yeah.
And I think you had a lot of those people now because people were afraid. Someone owes you $10,000, Tom. You're not going to do 20 years. They run to the cops. You'll take $10 a week. So you don't have the opportunity to be a tough guy really anymore because everybody goes away. So now it's about money. And look, the smartest guy probably out there was Mikey Franchese.
Yeah.
Guy was going to be a doctor. He was accepted to medical school. So there comes a time when I think they made guys that would have never been made in any other circumstance. They only had to replenish. So they made guys that were on the fringe and never would have been made if the old timers didn't go away. And now you have a bunch of yayos running in the street with no direction. They're not capable. And that's what I think happened to them all. Now, I think.
I got to find a way to stream it without getting copyright marked, but maybe if I did commentary, I'd love to do it with you because I think you would like it. So there was, Roberto Saviano, the guy who did Gomorrah. Did you ever see Gomorrah?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So Gomorrah is a great TV show, great movie.
Excellent.
Based on the book by Roberto Saviano, who is now a professor, famous author, and actually still to this day has guards in Italy because he can't walk the street. And he did a whole thing on the Calabrian mob. So basically what happened was Cosa Nostra took on the Italian government, and over here kind of got like broken up, whether it be Pizza Connection, Old Bridge, along with the Cosa Nostra here, the American LCN, right? So then the Calabrians were brilliant. They started kidnapping, which they always were doing, and there was kidnapping season, but they started kidnapping and it was big money. So funny story. So Getty Jr., Paul Getty Jr. got kidnapped, and they wanted, for the sake of argument, $250,000 at the time, whatever it was. Getty's grandfather was so pissed, the real Getty, Paul Getty, and was like, you know what? I'm going to give you $133,000 because that was a max allowed for tax deduction.
Oh my God, really?
Not for any other reason. So my point being was they got really heavy into kidnapping and then rolled that money into drugs. And they were smart. So while the LCN, Cosa Nostra, on both sides of the pond were focusing on heroin, they said, no, we're going to focus on coke. The reason being is because it's a higher margin. Theoretically, higher, like educated class people use it.
Right.
And with heroin, the theory is, well, if I have you for now, I have you for life. The problem is people generally degenerate when you do heroin. Coke is a functional product that you'll take, more people will take, and it's always growing.
You can
and they only wanted one product so they could be the best at it. So the Calabrian Mafia to this day eclipse all the organized crime groups, probably about 50x. They make more than Facebook, the Calabrian Mob. So like I'm fascinated on the business end, and their ranks are filled with people that are all related. Now I may roll on you if you scumbag me, right? Or I don't know you or whatever. But if you're my brother, you're my brother-in-law, you're my cousin by first cousin. That's why you don't see a lot of pentiti, or you don't see a lot of guys who roll informants in Italy on the Calabrian side, because they're related. I think also that was another mistake. Carlo Gambino had his son married Lucchese's daughter. The Profacis married the Tocos over in Detroit. Bonanno married, I think, Profaci, another daughter. So my point being is, like, they got away from the values, and their business model changed. So from the business perspective, aside for having lack of recruitments, how else did they not evolve? Because I have a lot of theories behind that, but I want to hear your opinion. It's like any other business. You have to evolve, right? And you have to pivot. Why do you think, from the business perspective, they didn't evolve as well, from your perspective, Vinny?
Because I think as people got older, the people that were running things weren't too bright. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And like, to your point, I think it was, I don't know, whoever it was, Luisi or someone who was in Boston, whose whole family was wiped out. The father, the brother, and make everyone in your family. You have a better chance of being insulated.
Yeah.
And that's a good move, but unfortunately you're ruining people's lives doing it. But no, I think that basically technology got better for the FBI. I think that people go a little bit, the bartender who steals $5 a night gets away with it, ends up getting fired when he's taking $150. I think people just become pigs, and they think they're getting away with it, but they're being surveillance on them and all that. And I just think that that mob mentality is always to get over.
Yeah.
I don't care if you get over 10 cents on someone, it's to get over. And I think when you have that mentality, I think that is your downfall eventually. That ego. Because ego, think about it, Tom, what kills you more than ego?
I think it backs up ego. Hubris. I think hubris is the destroyer of all.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, which is a cousin of ego.
Yeah, right. 1 and 1A. Yeah, but I tell you, I think that the mob. Listen, I think there'll always be a mob because you have people. They say legitimized gambling now. That they don't give you a credit line.
True.
The mob's giving you a credit line. So
True.
there'll always be that. People always have to borrow money. I think it's a little harder to get money now because it's bad charge usury now. But it always was. But now they're afraid because people rat them out. Back in the day, you gave someone a beating out in front of the social club. 100 people saw it. You would add tomorrow. You weren't picked up. So obviously people were afraid. People just aren't afraid anymore.
Good point. So I want to kind of fast forward a little bit. So we go back to your life specifically and your arc. But I kind of want to fast forward a little bit. Why YouTube, man? You're a nice guy. You seem to got a nice house, good family, like the whole. Like, why YouTube, man? Walk me through that.
YouTube?
Yeah.
Because I want to use it as a forum to try to help people with mental illness. It was never about subs. I never thought, and still don't think I'd ever get 1,000 subs.
Hold on. All I ask really quick, and I don't think I ever did this, folks. You guys know me well enough, and you've been watching us for a minute. Sub his channel. I'll put a link. You deserve it. You're a good guy. I don't think I've ever, with New Theory or even with my former co-host, a Friday Night Live with the Cigar and a Wine. I literally was prepared. You were like, oh, I'll be on in 5 minutes. I'm like, no, I'm still preparing. It's a big deal for me because I respect you.
Thank you.
As a man, because I told you, I grew up like Italian American. Like you don't admit to your fucking wife they have mental illness and your kids that you have mental illness, let alone strangers who you don't know from Adam. So number one, my respect for that. So I get it. YouTube you did for
group therapy.
Yeah. Now, I got to put in the spot a little bit. I'm not the zinger guy.
I will answer you anything.
Questions. You ready for it?
Absolutely.
All right. So, and this is interesting. And I'm not like super friendly like with Gene Barello. I interviewed him once. We keep in touch. But it's interesting. From the time he went away to the time he came back, he kind of checked in with me. He's like, hey, how are you, Tom? And I'm well. And just like, pleasantries, right? I don't endorse him or will never say negative. It's just he was on my show. He was a great guest. And just like you're a great guest. You and I maybe find a little bit more of a kinship. But nevertheless, in those 4 or 5 months, there wasn't even a MobTube. And B, it was crazy. You had, and I like FBS because we get along. We had him. You had Lee Cole pop up. You had, I heard some guy sending money. And I haven't really been involved with MobTube either, as people know, because John and I stayed in our lane. So now I'm trying to learn a little bit of the landscape just so I can learn and know what's going on, right? They're not competitors. I wish us all well.
Absolutely.
But MobTube is like a shit show. So my question is, I'm going to ask you, give me 2 or 3 shows first that you like.
I have selfish reasons for liking.
Let's hear it. That's the finance guy in you. He's got to disclose why he likes it.
No, I'm being serious. I never dreamed when I used to watch you and John that you would ever talk to me because I looked at you as an NBA guy, a big channel, and I wouldn't even know how to get a hold of you because you get so many emails. And I'm honored. 400
emails a day between my business and other stuff.
Yeah, I'm honored. I have to tell you, FBS, because he's a guy that when I was trying to start out, called me one day after emailing him and said, whatever I could do to help you. Only person that ever reached out to me.
Wow.
And when I went on his show, I was nervous as hell and I thought I made it.
God bless.
Yeah. And I don't, and when people go, and I'll tell you, honestly, I don't want to go back to this, so I'll give myself a minute with this, being that you're going to ask me another couple of leading questions.
Hell yeah.
I gave Panisi a lot of credit, and I'll tell you why. When people were blasting him about a shaking house, I'll tell you, I'm not the kind of guy to believe in this shit. I'm honest with my people. That's why I really don't have any trolls, because I'm not even worth trolling. I was laying there married.
Don't worry, you're not missing anything.
Well, I think you get subs from it. So what happened was I was laying there, freshly married. A couple of people, my grandmother's died 2 months before. And I see a white cloud next to me. And at my wife at the time, I say, are you awake? She says, yeah. I said, look to the right. Oh my God, turn on the light, gone. Do I think that his house shook? No. Do I think that he believes it shook? Yes.
Yeah.
I think that anything you have to do to take the onus off you, I had to do this. You know, you tell a story so much you could believe it. If you're so versed in it that it's almost like it really happened to you.
Yeah.
So your show, I loved. I didn't even know what happened. I think I heard it on FBS show that you were no longer around.
Yeah.
And I don't really tune into a lot of shows because I don't have 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
But FBS, and I like this guy, the Mob Report or the Mob Show Report.
Now there's coffee.
I think he's hilarious.
Yeah,
he reminds me of an Anthony Perkins character, not disparagingly, but he is just very calculated. He's like a college professor.
Yeah,
and a very dry guy, you can tell. And I spoke to him, and he's going to be on my show tomorrow night. And I find him very fascinating. I find them all fascinating. Sammy's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
But
did
really,
did you catch Sammy's reign being a Brooklyn guy or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I met him. I used to go to Plaza Suite, the club he owned. And my friend swears I met him a couple of times and I remember it. And I don't know if this is just going back because he's telling me the story. But yeah, I tend to remember. He's a small guy. He's like 5'5". But yeah, I think I met him. I don't think I shook his hand or anything. I think he just said, "This is Sammy." Yeah. I'll tell you a quick story if you want to hear it.
Please.
When I was 15, I worked in this candy store on Bay 25th in Cropsey. Ralph Spiro and Shorty Spiro were there. Ralph owned it. Shorty was the brother, the Colombo captain. I knew Tommy very well. Tommy was Ralph's son who ran with the Rampers.
Yeah.
He knew Gravano very well. And Henry Hill came into the place. I remember when the Lufthansa heist happened. They came in, locked the door, smashed up the floor, went down to the basement. We were all locked in there for 6 hours because a guy, Angelo Seppi, who was Tommy's nephew.
Yes.
And he wasn't in Goodfellas, but they kind of, Johnny Williams' character, who I know, Johnny Roast Beef, that was a compilation of a couple of characters. He wasn't really a character. Angelo Seppi was one of them. In my building where I lived on 20th Avenue, Angelo Seppi was shot to death with his girlfriend, who was like 19. I knew her, Lombardi. He was shot.
Wait, they shot the girlfriend too?
Yeah, the apartment buildings have the storage rooms, like a bicycle room where the laundry room is.
Yeah.
He had one of those and lived in it. He had ferrets running all over. He loved animals more than people. And they went in and shot them both to death. And so I met Sammy around that. I knew Tommy, who turned out, he was in the book. Sammy mentions him that he turned out to be a drug addict. I don't know if he did, but I met Sammy a couple of times. From what I remember, hello, goodbye. I met Mike Frances.
Oh, wow.
I met him at a car dealership. He took over Colombo's dealership. Joe Colombo had 86th Street. I think it was OK Chevrolet or something like that. My friend was a head mechanic.
I remember that, yeah.
We went down to the island. Frances had a lot of car dealerships in the island. And he was talking to me. I didn't know who he was at the time. Found out later on. But he was very nice, very yuppie, trying to sell me a car, a good talker. I tell you, the guy could talk to you, and in 5 minutes later, you believe he's in front of you. Yeah, that's the kind of guy he is.
Love it. Real quick, if you guys came late, I'm enjoying Romeo and Juliet at 1875. I'll give you my NBA score in a minute. I'm enjoying a nice Barola Terra di Bo. It was given as a gift. It's a really nice bottle, and you have an Amarone. What kind of Amarone is it again?
It's Amarone della Popolicelli, 2013.
Very nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Amarones. You know how Amarones are made, right? They, if I'm not mistaken, they lay them out in the sun, let them kind of like dry out a little. Not dry out, but like they're in the sun, and then they squash them, and the grape, and they're fortified. They're much stronger. They're much harder, and it's like an FU grape. The Amarone is like, to me, I might have it once a year, but when I have it, it's a joyous event. So
the bottles are about $40 or $50. They're bottles, something like that.
Amarone is not an inexpensive proper.
They're good though.
I will tell you this though. I'll try to drop a link to it. The Barolos are not inexpensive either, but Barolo is also known as a wine of kings. Really? And this is only a $26 bottle, and to be honest, it's fantastic. if you see me eating, it's not being disrespectful to Vinny. It's just I made a little caprese salad, and you don't really one. I'm using it to cleanse my palate a little bit with a cigar, and then number two is you don't. Although a Barolo is medium body, I don't like to do Barolo on an empty stomach. But I'm just giving you a little.
That's what I was going to ask you. If it was a sweet wine, a dry, like a Merlot, I was curious what it was.
It's Amarone, but it's no. Actually, I apologize. It's medium body, but it's super dry. Yes.
Okay.
And it probably as dry as an Amarone. All right, now the next question.
Go ahead.
Three shows, and we're not going to say that you hate or not that you disapprove, not that they're bad people, but 3 shows that you could live without. Go ahead. Sorry, but
no, that's fine. That's fine. I have to put a disclaimer, and it has nothing to do with being a stockbroker.
Yeah.
If what I hear is true, A-Light.
Yeah.
I have a friend who knew him back then. Yeah. He was a crazy guy. He can handle himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he embellishes, and listen, he makes money out of it. You know, you talk about for the kids, and you're telling people that I hurt your father with bats, and you're selling autograph bats. I wonder what that's about. But
it gets a little dicey.
Sonny Money. I wish Sonny Money would call me and I could help him mentally, but he'd probably tell me to go fuck myself. Who the hell are you? And he's right. But you know, there's still a part of me that doesn't think he's a bad kid.
I just got a little bit of it because I kind of just, it's funny. I've been doing this for like 9 months. I just kind of got into MobTube. It's like my guilty pleasure. It's like literally watching a train, like imagine watching a train wreck where like, nobody's going to die.
Right.
Like it's literally a train about to hit a movable force. And you're sitting there like, eating the popcorn. Who rounds out?
Tony Pizza.
Wow.
Tony Pizza. I don't care if you're looking for subs or whatever you're doing. Some of it, I agree with that. First of all, I think he paid Sammy to do that phone call. There's no way in hell he didn't give Sammy money. I just think things he said about FBS, I think you leave the wives out of it. If you're a mob genre, live with some rules. The street has rules.
You got to pick a lane. Correct.
Mobsters never bothered wives. They never bothered girlfriend, mothers especially. When you were able to do that, even to try to get subs, you're a piece of shit. And you know what? I don't wish harm on him. I don't think anybody should be homeless. But as close as you can get to suffering, that's what I think he deserves.
Good point. Okay, so I appreciate your candidness.
Of course.
Because you could have not answered, but you did. I appreciate that. Now,
of course.
You share some, and I don't know if I could find the right word. I won't say it's not restraining, it's like the opposite, but you share some thoughts that you did some things you weren't super proud of during your bipolar episodes. You don't have to go super specific, and I'm not trying to draw a pain, but I'm trying to get color of like where was the line for you, right? What's something you did? What's the thing that you're most not proud of?
Kick someone off a roof.
Wow.
It was a small roof. I went there with my friend. The guy was a super, drugged out, who was threatening to rape his girlfriend. And we got up to the roof. And he said, "You can't do something." And I said, "No." He broke his legs. Wow. I was about 23. I was a kid.
Did you get pinched or you got away with it?
Got away. And then Social Club.
I love that. Got away with it.
Got away with it. And then Social Club. It's an odd story. I used to like to bet. I knew this guy for like 15 years. His cousin started an oldies review thing where he'd put oldie concerts together. And this guy, who's 12 years old, that's his cousin, finds out he's robbing him blind. Beats the shit out of him. This guy wasn't capable of adding 2 and 2 with bookmaking sense. Because he knew I had good finance background. He asked me to take over for a few months until Super Bowl, then I could leave.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because of that other guy that he threw out, the place was being watched for 2 years. So there was an investigation way before I came in.
Wow.
So
you get jammed up?
C felony. They offered me. They took $80,000 out of the house. And I had a fight to keep my stock brokerage licenses. I went before the SEC. And what happened was they offered me nothing, misdemeanor, if I ratted. I said, "You know what?" They said, "We'll give you 18 months right now because it's obstruction." You know what I told them? I said, my wife's a fucking pain in the ass and my kid's breaking my balls. Just
You're
let me
doing me
have
a
a
favor.
sandwich and take me now. And take me now. They said, get this fucking guy out of here. That's what they said. They offered me a proffer. I swear, Tom, my son, I said, why don't you shove it up your fucking ass? I take your proffer. I said, and go fuck yourself with it. I said, can I leave or you want to take me? But either way, you're not getting anything because I don't know anything. They said, we have you on film. I said, I kiss everybody hello. I'm Italian. I'm from Bensonhurst.
That's what we do. You sound like
That's what we
Cuomo.
do.
Right? It's like Cuomo on that right now. I'm Italian. Just
I know. I never did any of that stuff though. And so I went into the social club. The only thing that saved me, and my son was having problems at the time, issues, anxiety. They heard me on the phone. They also heard me on the phone where a guy won 20,000, came Monday with no money the next Monday, and my partner was ready to kill him. I said, give me the phone. You're gonna have a stroke. I said, listen, when you have the money, come in. And the DA said, he's a criminal within these four walls. The other guys walk around like they have licenses. Yeah. So they didn't object. I fought. I gave them the 80,000. I got non-report probation because my son was having problems. I said, I finally got him in to AAU to play ball, get him out of the house. Please, I know what probation's about. The first 6 months, you won't let me go anywhere. I can't do that, Tim. Sorry. And they stood silent, the DA, because they knew that I wasn't a terrible guy. And, but I took the felony. I wasn't going to rat on anybody. It's not in me. Now, listen, I tell people this, Tom, and I lost a lot of subs because of this. I said, I was facing 5 years.
Yeah.
I said, so I'll be out in 3.5. I said, but if I was facing 50, I could not with certainty tell you I wouldn't flip. And
well, being honest,
I'm not on YouTube to bullshit. If I wanted to bullshit, I go bullshit all my friends in the bar. I can't, now listen, I would hope I wouldn't, but honestly, if you're telling me you're going to throw my family in the street, take the house, take every dollar, Tom, I would hope I wouldn't. I can't promise you.
Yeah, so there's a certain level of honesty, and a certain level, there's a huge level of honesty. So, which brings me to my next kind of part of the discussion is, so again, I know, and I'm going to do an episode on this, and I want to research it and that kind of stuff. Yeah. When Carlo Gambino died, it was in 1976. There was a reporter came out with like a scathing. I gotta find it, where he was saying that the Italian mafia is no longer Italian, and this was their argument that it was so inbred at some point that everybody was marrying everybody and kind of staying in the culture and not part of the bigger Italian culture. And statistically, only 1 out of 10,000 Italian Americans were involved with the mob, so it was an outlier. And although I do agree with some of that to an extent, being an Italian American though is you get drawn into the mob culture, whether somebody brings up the Sopranos because you're Italian, or somebody starts. I always say when I was in corporate, somebody start cursing more because I was Italian. I'm like, well, why are you like? I'm like, you're not cursing with Steven. So anyway, my point being is, I'm not a street guy. I never claimed to be. However, though, I'm mixed. I'm mixed on like some of these guys, were informants, and some of these guys did certain things, and there's a spectrum. I will all agree there's a spectrum, and every situation is different, right? So where do you land on informants? Like, do you and MobTube? So give us a real deal on informants and MobTube.
Yeah, and at risk of losing subs, I'll tell you, I think there is definitely a difference between, not everything is the same. I think informants, listen, if the story is correct with your ex-partner,
yeah,
and they found charges on him by him going to the feds, he wasn't ratting out anybody.
Yeah.
Now, is that different than saving yourself 30 years and ratting out on people? I think it is.
Yeah.
Now, is it ratting? Yeah. But I think there are different degrees of ratting. I gave this example. If you're a made guy,
yeah,
and your cousin is married to a made guy, and you think he's beating the hell out of her to where he's going to kill her, and if you make a call or your wife makes a call, are you ratting?
Yeah, that it's a slippery slope, because then absolutely. The part I struggle with is there's a street code, which I know nothing of, but let's say there's a street code, right? But then if you're an associate and then you're a made guy, are you a rat if you're an associate, but you never took the oath? Like, I know it's a street code.
Yeah, I
Where
think
do you land on that?
You're a rat in the street sense. You're not a rat in the mob sense.
Now, why didn't the mob put certain systems in place to prevent it? And here's what I mean. You and I are MBAs, right? And this would never happen. But let's just say the commission called us in as two smart Italian American MBAs, right? Number one, I would only do work or business in areas that provided a high return with limited exposure.
Right.
Like heroin and cocaine is great, best margins, but you're going to do 70 years, right? And I know that we could commit white collar fraud, not that we could do it, and walk away with $5 million. And if we get caught, we'll do 3 years and maybe have to give $2.5 million back. So I don't get why they don't migrate towards the Genovese family is a perfect example. They do it all the time. If you ever notice a Genovese person gets pinched, it's big money, and it's stuff that does not carry a lot of time.
Hardest family to get made into.
I still don't get to this day why the other four families are just not sitting there mimicking the Genovese family. That's the part I never understand. Where do you land on that? 'Cause that's the part that I scratch my head.
I know a Genovese guy. Hardest family to get made in.
Yeah.
You practically have to walk on water to get made in that family. I just think it's philosophy. I think, and a lot of the Genovese guys are involved with Costa Rica and gambling and big business where you're not hurting anybody. See, Tom, if you're not hurting anybody, you're not going to do all that time generally.
Correct.
If you're hurting people, and I think you have families that always have the reputation. Colombo family has a reputation of drugs. They're, the Bonanno family, a little of everything. The Bonanno family, when Messino took over, had to close all the social clubs. That was his edict right away. Every social club done. I think they all have differences, and I think they try to be different than other families. I think they purposely, I always thought that there's no rhyme or reason in the mob to begin with. You're dealing with an animal that changes its spot. Listen, if you can kill your best friend, why should anything make sense? So I think that it appears that at face value that maybe everyone's involved in gambling, but there's so much we don't know because we're not at those meetings. And I always tell people that, you get mad at people. Listen, were you on the phone? Were you there when the lawyer was? People, it's all conjecture. You know that. And
Yeah.
I give an example. If someone next to my house, the guy is a prick and hits his wife every day, and we hear a crash, and she comes to the door and she says, actually, I fell on the table and hurt my eye. You know what? Would you want me to put you away for 1,000 years because you did something before when that time she legitimately fell?
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. I think that there are different avenues to look at when associate opposed to a made guy ratting. But this is what I say to people. You go into the playground, you may get mugged. And then when you get mugged, you sit crying about it. In the mob now, there are rats. Yeah. If you get involved, why are you so shocked if you get ratted out? Why are you so shocked when you see everyone getting ratted out and you insist on being a mob guy?
Well, that's the other part of it too. Then I always say, why, so let's talk about the real power in America, right? And some organizations aside for the government. You have the Freemasons, right? And in Italy, they kind of got it. The Calabrians do this. They actually are like interwoven. You had go to Masonic lodges in every town. They're blacked out. They have their churches. You see nobody talking about it. Why don't the Italian American mob turn into a Freemasonry, go back to secrecy, keep it mostly legit, and frankly live for reputation? Because I will tell you this much. I believe you and I are old enough that if we had a tussle with a made guy, now I'm not saying it's like it used to be where we'd run and move our family, but I'm still scared. Not gonna lie, I'm still scared of those guys, right? What I'm getting at is they can live off the reputation. See, the way fear works is it's off the possibility of something happening versus something happening, right? It's this fight or flight mechanism, right? If you fight, you'll lose, and if you flight, what do you do? The feds, you can leave. So I never understood why they didn't, like, for example, for example, Vito Rizzuto, he he stopped shaking down you for your 10% of your project. You know what he said, Vinny? I'm getting 10% equity. I'm going to own 10% of your project. I'm going to own 10% of this company. I don't get why the commission, instead of taking 2% of over $1 million, why didn't they take equity in projects legally, like other ethnic groups and other people do that are completely legal, and these guys are worth $50 million each. So I just think there's a certain level of unsophistication that these guys didn't graduate to that jammed them up. But if the mob tomorrow took their 1,000 guys that are made in New York and turned them into a Freemasonry type system, not only would they prosper, they would recruit. That's just my opinion.
I think it's inherently there's something wrong with you if you want to go that life. And I think that what happens is they drink, they want to be big shots. You're not allowed to introduce a made guy unless if you're a made guy, and I'm a made guy, I can't tell you I'm a made guy. Someone that we both mutually know has to say, Tom, this is Vinny. He's from here. You're from there.
Correct.
When you drink, you want to act like a big shot. You tell your girl, hey, I got made. That's what happens. And I really believe it's supposed to be. The only family that really adheres to that still pretty much is the Genovese family.
Yeah.
They are very, very closed-mouthed. But I think it's just like you said, it's youth. It's people don't know what to do anymore. And I think that this country's shot. You know, they talk about woke. Well, you know what? I'm glad I went back to sleep because and listen, I agree with everything you see. I'm open-minded. To me, if you have if you gamble, right, you're not open-minded. If you gamble, you're not open-minded because you have a stake in the race. I try to be open-minded. That's why I go on every show. I don't badmouth this guy because the flavor of the month, everybody hates him because I know it's going to be secular and he'll be a hero next month.
Yeah.
I don't want to be involved. But
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So now listen, for a show that doesn't have a ton of subs, you actually get a good amount of views. I didn't get the comment. You had a decent amount on live. Your numbers are good relative to where you are in the I don't know how to say the MobTube, but the YouTube world, right?
I get 200 views usually.
But that's okay. But that's okay. These are 200 people that are there, right? So here's my question to you. Give me the first comment or the first situation you got that a troll or just somebody got, because remember, like, we're regular guys, right? You got to see, and I'll open up a little bit now, but I had a rough go for a while on some of the stuff that people were coming for me with, what they were saying, what they were doing. And I'm no celebrity, I'm nobody. And they came for me pretty hard. Give me the first so far, something they give to say who it is, obviously, because the first of all, it's probably a troll anyway.
Well, did they come after you because of John, or they came after you because of you?
I have to say something, and I'm going to say this in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Here's where I will give credit. Number one, and guys, real quick, it's hard. I'm going back and forth. I might use StreamYard so you can like see better. I have to toggle back and forth with Zoom to see the comments. Okay. I'm not avoiding the comments. But I would say like 30% of the people that are on that stream now are names that would never come on the NBA Button Man. I will tell you that right now. And on top of it, Alan Brock, you know what? We'll make up. We'll work it out. I know you kind of got on me before. I'm okay with criticism. We also have a different business model. I'm okay with criticism. I'm okay with, I don't say negativity. That's different. But I'm okay with criticism. I answer all the questions. I try to do my best. Sometimes I get brought into the muck, but nevertheless, I'm going to say this, and I know nobody cares, but there was a whole bunch of people that didn't watch my previous show. I will say this.
They didn't approve.
I will say this. About 50 to 80 guys, and mostly men. If they're females, forgive me if they're female names. Not only came over, subbed, and supported, but have been great during the transition. So I got to give credit that if the former show was against your constitution, it wasn't like, oh, I'm setting up armchair and NBA. fuck Tom, I hate him, he's a jerk off. No, the second I disassociated, don't get me wrong, I lost subs.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys that I never thought would come over, and they did. That chat room is not the normal chat room that we had 6 weeks ago. And to be honest with you, quality over quantity too. I may lose some subs, and I wish John well. That's the best part. I'm not against him anyway.
Me too.
But I did notice that we did get, I don't say I did get some guys and gals that are normally not. If you guys don't mind me asking this while we're talking, if you could just drop new, meaning in the comments, drop new. If you know what, I didn't mess with your other show, I'm kind of hanging out with this show, just so I can get a quick anecdotal kind of inventory of who was with us before, where I kind of know a lot of the names, but I noticed some new names. So drop a new in. I'll pop back in a second. We'll check that out. All right.
I didn't forget your troll story. I'll answer.
Yeah, please. I'm dying to hear
that. I had a few trolls a couple of weeks back, not many. And in fact, I didn't even know how, I'm embarrassed to say this, I didn't even know how to put a wrench on there. And I would have. And a couple of people told me, you need a wrench.
Yeah.
So I finally figured out how to do it. One of the trolls emailed me and said, I'm so sorry I went after you because of what you do. I really went after you because of who you were talking about. It was one of the content guys that I was promoting, that he helped me. More about him, but how you doing? When I went to Florida, checked on me every day. How you feeling? Because I was sick. I'm lucky because I don't have many trolls, and I'm so stupid and new to this. I can't even tell if someone's trolling me, Tom. But
there's a guy on your channel,
on my channel,
that during our thing, Doug. He has it out for me. The guy,
Doug.
Yeah, it's all right. He, of course,
I'm trying to think. Doug.
Yeah, there's like 8 comments on there, and the best part is, like, I would have no. See, I don't. And listen, I'm open to criticism, right? Yeah. But I'm a business person, right? And generally, there are people that you just like can't agree with. You could have an active disagreement.
Yeah,
leave it there, right? Or there's some people you could chat with and then maybe get along. I actually got an email. And I won't say his name because it's not meant for that. But a 56-year-old man emailed me, said, I was wrong about you, or hey, I didn't watch you because of X, Y reason. I was a little rough on you, and I want to say I'm sorry. And I was floored by it. So, I get why some people didn't watch the show before.
Yeah, sure.
And I get why people left the show too. I get both, right? But the part that we're all adults, that's a weird part, Vinny, is we're not kids. And what's weird is a lot of the infighting that's going on are like, we're not kids. Like, I'm like 40. I'm busy. You're busy. Like, we don't have time for this. How do you stay out of the YouTube muck? Because I know like that you kind of slow and steady. You're kind of maybe doing certain interviews, certain guys. Yeah. But how do you stay away from the muck? Because that's the part I'm interested to hear as well.
Well, there were a couple of guys that said they would come on and help me, and they have a lot of viewers. I mean, a few thousand, one of these guys, and I wouldn't go on. Yeah. Because I'm this is terrible, because I probably told people so much how their support for me that I don't want to go on people's shows just to get subs. I don't want people to think, he just wants subs.
Yeah.
I don't want that, because I don't have the genre where I'm going to have all these thousands of subs and super chats and all this. I want the genre where the people I talk to, like I do, all have my back. They're not trolling me. I'd rather have that. I'm not going to get rich from this. This isn't my career.
Correct.
I'm retired. You know what? And I'm a guy that likes to answer emails. I get 50 a day, 40 a day. Yeah. And with that comes, I feel if you've taken your time out of your day to watch me, I should take 5 minutes to answer your mail. And unfortunately, it's very hard. So what I came up with is all the people in my comment section I intermingle with, I answer their questions. I let a couple on today because I figured out how to do it. And I want it to be an interactive program. Because basically, Tom, we're all not that interesting. It's the issues around our lives that become, if we had to write a book about ourselves, that's okay. But the people that we mingled with in our lifetime, that's what makes it interesting. So I feel if I can make it an interactive channel, it not only helps me mentally, but maybe there's someone out there And I told you the other night, someone went for help. He's in therapy 3 weeks now because his father let him watch me. And you know something? That was
Wow.
all the super chat I ever needed to help someone because maybe he'll have a better life. And someone did it for me.
That's
So
amazing.
pay
That's
it forward. That's how I look at it.
Really
But I
cool.
handle those people by, you know what?
Yeah.
They make me stronger, Tom. If they troll me, you know what I say? Wow, I got better. Usually I'd be cursing people out. So you know what? Keep it coming because you're just showing me how strong I've gotten.
Hold on.
That's how I look at it.
So, Father Time, welcome. He's a good dude.
He
Tom,
is, yeah.
thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. A whole bunch of stuff. Thank you, BK Sal Crook. I think you're a Brooklyn guy. Well, obviously you're a Brooklyn guy. Bay 8th has always been a supporter, so really appreciate that. So for old and new supporters, I appreciate it. So really,
Yeah, those
quick,
guys are cool. They come on my. They're very cool. Those two.
well,
They're nice guys.
all good guys. So I'm gonna give my NBA score. So now I have to tell you. Now
I want to hear it.
this is with full prejudice. Full prejudice.
Okay.
So I was probably 20 something issues old, way long ago. Probably less weight, a little bit more handsome, less wrinkles. And the Romeo and Juliet of 1875 was the #1 cigar of the year by Cigar Aficionado. I don't know who makes it. It might be Monte Cristo. They probably paid for it. Good, the best money they ever spent. It used to be $5.25. So this is my go-to cigar. Now it's like $10, but this is my go-to stick when I go to a cigar lounge and I just want something reasonably expensive and I want something that I'm going to enjoy. So in my rating, as I'm developing, I factor in price, quality, enjoyment. I'm probably skewing it a little higher now because I'm having a nice time with you, Vinny.
Yeah, me too.
So the 1875 Romeo and Julieta, and if you guys had it below, I know some cigar smokers are on there. I want to hear your score below. I'm going with an 8.7. It's an excellent stick.
That's pretty good. How about your wine? What was the wine?
The Barolo, you got to forgive me. I need a little bite with it. And it's really inexpensive. It's like a $26 Barolo, which is
fine.
Really inexpensive with it, which is even better. The year, forgive me. It's a 16. Hold on. Let me try. It lightens up nicely. Another 8.2. It paired up. It paired up well. Like I got it right.
That's the key. The pairing is key.
Well, I had a gift for a Barolo from a good friend, and had this on deck. I knew I liked the cigar, so I've always been wanting to rate it. So I'm really happy with it there. So
now let me put you on the spot one time.
Oh yeah, how about this? Ask me anything. Yeah.
Favorite show other than Brooklyn Guy? I'm joking with you, but what is your favorite?
I watch a show now, especially now.
I know. What is your favorite?
I watch Sammy. I think it's great.
Good storyteller.
He's true to who he is. You know, he's a gangster. I will obviously watch Francis because he, you know, to me, he's a business guy. He's a racketeer. I just I'm trying to think what else that I watch like religiously. Like I'll talk when the subs I get on.
Yeah.
Aside for the Brooklyn Guy, I'm just trying to think.
I was joking with me, obviously.
I do watch your show,
but I was joking.
And it's funny, I caught it a little before you reached out. So like, oh shit, he reached out. I'm just trying to think. Outside of those shows, who do I watch religiously like that? Like what? Like I mean, I did pop on FBS shows a few times.
Yeah, I saw you.
So I want to open up a little bit. The reason why I have an affinity for him, and this is the part that like people have to understand is, I lost a brother to drugs, and
I lost a sister, 39 years old.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. I'm sorry for you.
My brother's 44. You're younger than I am now.
I'm sorry.
And you know, maybe listen, I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but I believe Chris had some challenges with drugs because I don't know show like deeply, and I don't know his narrative deeply.
No, he did.
But he had some challenges with drugs, turned his life around, is on YouTube, has his job, has a wife, and like to me, that's success. Because you know why? I wish my brother did that. Yeah, I haven't never been on YouTube, but I wish he, you know, did whatever he did and like turned it around, right? So maybe that's a reason why I went on there. Could be subconscious. I'm not a psychologist. Chris and I are now, I'm content to say, friends. We email each other, pop on the show once in a while.
Yeah.
You know, Flea Cole, I try to watch. It's tough, man. I like him because he has his shtick. I just think if he picked a lane and stayed with it instead of flip flopping, he would have a much better show.
I think that once you flip flop, you're done.
Correct, because I believe I don't watch him that much. The little that I watch, I believe he has convictions in terms of like political, and he has certain convictions. If he's stuck in that lane of, instead of being a troll, of just saying, hey, I'm an older guy, or hey, here's where I am, here's where I sit, and went with it. Like, so for example, I remember early on that like Jimmy Calandra did a show, right? And Jimmy, now I've been doing this for a while. And
have you? How long have you been doing this?
I new theory, my other podcast, which I'm going to get to in a second. Something.
Yeah, I want to go on it. I'm
gonna have you on that show too.
No, not on. I want to watch it.
Even better. And I had a good interview today, which I'll get to. How do I say this? So Jimmy was a bigger channel, and then Lee had him on, right? So generally, it's called, a get. Oh my God, I have a great get, right? I got this guy, I got that guy. So that's the type of channel that, like, when you have 17,000 subs, you go with Lee Cole, and it builds you up. Then later on, he kind of went against him, which I'm like, well, wait a second, you kind of don't do that, right? So then I think he had A-Light on, and then it went against him, and then he was with FPS and went against him, and like all this stuff going on, where I won't give much airtime, but like my point being is, when you have guests on, right? I'll give you the nature of this show and what New Theory is. I've had A-Light on, right?
Oh, you have.
But I also had A-Light on multiple times. Oh. I also had Chris Casparosa, who runs John A-Light Facts. And there's a reason for this. So everybody wonders, I'm not a flip-flopper. There's a reason. I want to get collective views from both sides so people can make their own decision. The problem with MobTube is everybody is on their quote-unquote side, and they don't see what the other side says. I want to get people on that are critical of John A-Light, and that's okay. You know why? Because doesn't mean he's always telling the truth, and that's okay. Now, conversely, if somebody wants to come on and they're a notable guest and makes sense for the show, I'll have them on. I'm not a journalist, but I am a podcaster. I am an interviewer, and if I can kind of get to the bottom of certain things, I will certainly do it. And that's something I don't apologize for. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, people were getting on me because I wish Lee Cole was in my chat, and I said, I hope your partner's okay. Fuck him. Fuck him. What did his partner ever do to you? She's in intensive care with COVID. Wait, you're an ass.
Wait, Lee Cole, I think, is on. If that's really him. Do you know the reason my head shows still growing? I actually like you, Tom. She is critical. Oh my God. Well, hold on. Here's the one thing though. Lee, if you are watching, hopefully your wife is okay. As I understand,
it's terrible.
So number one, and I'm going to be up front. My only challenge with Lee Cole, well, two. One is, he talked about the old show, and he called me, as I understand, a clown. Which, listen, trust me, I've been called worse. But I'm okay with, hey, Tom's a clown. Here is why. A, B, C, D. And I don't even agree with you. Trust me, my fiance might agree with you. If it makes sense. I just felt like he might have threw the baby out with the bathwater. The second is, there's certain parts of my ex-partner's story that it's okay. Like, here's the other part. I believe in freedom of speech. I will die for it. It's Voltaire who said, I don't believe in what you're saying, but I'll fight for your right to say it. So if you say anything about my old partner, you say anything about me, you say anything about this or that, and it's true, that's okay. Now, if there's something that's possibly not true and I defend it, that's okay too. So that was my only challenge with Flea. I like him. He seems like a good guy. I believe his partner is in intensive care. Like, I'll salute. I wish you well.
Yeah,
I actually emailed him. Here's why. Here's another part that what you're going to get from the new show. And this is this is true. Thank you, Sandy. Hold on. There's so many. It goes so quick. I hope I don't.
It's okay.
I don't think my fiance is moderating, and I don't have much mods. I really don't.
Neither do I.
I just don't. And again, the troll levels went down. So the other part is, if we have an issue, because I'm in the business world, I believe in heading the issues head on. So if Vinny all of a sudden says, "Hey, Tom's a jerk off," okay, that's fine. Or he's this, he's that, and it's something I want to address. I have no problem addressing on your show. I love debating, and I have also no problem talking it offline. Like, so, for example, I had an issue with MRE, right? I believe we squashed it behind the scenes. He thinks I did something out of pocket, which is not true, but that's his prerogative. But I believe I squashed it. I never said anything negative about him, and nor will I, even though I disagree with some of the things he's doing. Some of the things he's doing, but I understand what he's doing, right? And then FBS called me out, and I was in Costco or BJ's, and somebody sent me a link. I dialed in, and we addressed it. Now we're friends. Like, my point being is, it's okay to make up. I'm not a kid anymore, man. I don't want to have 8 shows with cannons at me every day. You know what I want to do? I want to provide great content. I want to have guys like you on that are good men that represent our culture and help us advance, not go behind.
Well, I will tell you
about.
I think that you said something a while back. Everyone wants to go back to high school when you're our age. I think this allows people to get back into high school with this drama. That's one of my thoughts. The other thought that I mentioned on my show, so I'm going to mention it on yours, so I can't be robbed of it. Yeah. I want to have a debate. I want 6 of the top mob genre guys linked up, and I want to do it like a 2-minute debate like they do for the presidential, and we'll have a list of questions, and I want them to go after each other and respectfully.
Well, it's funny. It's funny because I always said, so I can speak openly. So I had Hootie on my show before, and he was on New Theory a while ago, and it did pretty well, right?
Do you believe him? Because a lot of people don't believe him.
Here's a challenge I have, and this might be good about some of the MobTube. Some of the information that I've gotten later, and the same happens with some other guests, that may contradict what they said or what they did. So the truth of the matter is, I like Anthony. I got along with Anthony, but Anthony didn't like me interacting with certain other shows. I have to do what I love to do. We, as you know, we don't get a lot of remuneration for this.
Right.
I appreciate the Snapchats. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the views. I will never turn that down. But nevertheless, it was a situation where he was uncomfortable with something I was doing, right? With him specifically, now I'll give you an example, Vinny. Let's just say somebody said, A, B, C, and D are full of shit, right? I have no problem going in person, like, bro, you're full of shit. Let's talk about it. Or even doing it on the show. That I don't have a problem with, right? But he didn't love that I still kept in touch with Stax. Stax is an interesting guy, right?
Yeah, I don't know him really.
He had a really rough past, and I'm like a big, and that's why I had the other show. I'm a big believer in redemption. Huge believer. Huge. It comes from being a Catholic. It comes from growing up in an Italian American household. I'm not saying people, don't change. Some do, I'm saying that people, hold on. I'm not saying everybody can change, but I'm saying is, you know what? If like, hey, you had a bad life and you need help, you need help. I'm like, you know what? Let me help you if I can. So it's kind of like the weird dynamic of, if you do that show, you're a bad dude. Or if you help that person, I don't like them, don't help them. No, man, I'm here to help everybody. And I'm agnostic towards who I help. Right? Why would I help you and not somebody else? It doesn't make sense to me. So I had to, so that's why, like, some of the guests I had on the past, I didn't really keep in touch with personally, because we had disagreements on what I should do next. I don't know how that works,
I don't, if there wasn't room for redemption, I'd be in the street right now, Tom.
What's your biggest regret so far?
I don't regret the things I did. I regret the things I didn't do. I regret not having the sense to maybe all the time I was out in the street doing nonsense when my son was 3 years old. I could have been home with him, tucking him in, instead of just, mussing his hair when he was in the crib sleeping. I just could have been a little nicer to family members. Not that I ever abused them, but
Yeah.
you know, the bottom line is I would have been nicer if I wasn't involved with those people, because I think it just rubs off on you. It's like you live a life, you're in court all day, very aggressive, and you come home. It's tough to wash that day off you with a shower. That's your mindset all day. And I just think that I would have obviously not gotten into that social club. And I probably just would have had a little more empathy for people if I had the foresight to see how much empathy they'd have for me.
Wow.
And I think that's why now it's not about super chats. I could give a shit less about it.
Yeah.
It's not going to pay your rent. You look like in a beautiful house. What's a super chat going to do for you? Buy you 2 cigars? I want. Well, some of the people are very generous. Actually, I see them on other shows. But I just want to tell people it's okay to be fucked up, and if people keep on reminding you, that's your tool to get better. Because no one can take that away from you. You wanting to get better, and that's who you are. And don't let them define who you are. You define who you are, because when you wake up in the morning, I guarantee you, if there's no one in your bed and you go to the bathroom, it's you in that mirror, not anyone else. So answer to yourself.
Well, so Vinny, so now that we're a little older and a little wiser, and again, you're going to be a recurring guest, whether you like it or not.
I as you will. I appreciate it. I love these talks. I'm having a wonderful time. I drank a half a bottle of wine, so I
Oh my
advise
God,
you.
I'm already.
I know, 3/4. And so I advise you, if you want to ask anything, this is the night.
Well, what do they say? In being better and in vino veritas, and wine comes the truth. It's a Latin saying.
Absolutely.
So okay, so we're older now, and we kind of land where we land, right? And I get what you're saying. Opportunity cost. I wish I did this. I wish I did that.
Yeah.
I wish I invested in Bitcoin. Another discussion. But where did you land? Like, so now that you're older and more mature, did you mend fences and you're okay? Or if there's 3 or 4 people that we talk to, they know a different Vinny Bracco and they're sticking to it. I want to see where you landed, Vinny.
It's very interesting you say that, because I have a friend who's like a brother who lives in Florida, Bob, and he, after a couple of my broadcasts of talking about my life, I met him when I was about 22, so I started at 18. He said, Vin, I feel like I don't even know you. He said, I really feel like this is you. And it's because I let everything out, where you're not going to say certain things when you're 25 and stuff.
Yeah.
And now I'm not embarrassed. Like, people will tell me, like, I can't believe you're so honest. I said, what else? I can't be honest with myself and get better if I'm afraid. You're a real big shot if you talk tough through the keyboard.
Yeah.
When you get in front of someone's face, let's see how tough you are. I'm real tough if I tell myself I'm going to be okay. But if I tell people the real story, I'm taking the shot of putting myself out there on Front Street and them not liking me. You know what? If they don't like me, that's because of me, because I made those choices. And I know I don't want to be disliked, so I won't make those choices tomorrow, because I don't like how it feels when people don't like me. So that's how I feel, Tom. I used to go into a room, if 99 people liked me and one said, it would keep me up for days trying to turn that person. Now it's like, listen, I don't want anybody to dislike me. I'm sorry if you do, but if you do, not losing sleep over it. This is me. And if you don't like it, you know what? You got the delete button and go off my channel. That's how I look at it.
Well, let me ask you. That has to do with living your truth. It took me a long time to get here. What is your truth, Vinny?
My truth is,
not an easy question.
I'll tell you what it is. I want my son, who's 26, through all the anxiety, and he has anxiety issues now. I think I caused it a lot. I really do. I think caused PTSD for him. I would throwing a toaster through the wall and stuff. I want my son to say, you know what? When I'm gone, look at his grandson and say, my grandson, and say, you know, Grandpa was a good guy. He was human. I always thought when we were young, our dads can beat everybody up. They're the strongest. They're the best looking. Our dad's not that Superman. And we start being disappointed in him because he's not the hero we made him out to be. And then when he's older, he gets smarter as we get older because we say, you know what? He was human, and so am I. And that's how we love. That's what it's about. And I want people to just say, you know what? He screwed up. But the bottom line is you go to a tombstone, Tom, you got a date you were born, you go a date that you died. That dash is the whole life. Those dates mean nothing. It's the dash. And I want people to say, you know what? At the end of his dash, he was an okay guy.
Now,
That's all I want.
Now, conversely, as I asked, what is your truth? And it seems like you're finally starting to live your truth, which is not an easy thing to do.
Trying. Another glass.
Did you lose anybody when you started living your truth?
I think I did excommunicate a couple of people because I knew that we had nothing in common anymore. I wasn't a devout, like, oh my God, you don't listen, you're a bookmaker, I can't deal with you anymore. That's not the question. I just wouldn't deal with them on that level because you're not a bookmaker 24/7. You know, if I'm in a diner with you and if you're not talking to me about sports, you're fine. I think that some people after the arrest kind of said like, whoa, you know, I don't know. And they're nice to me if I see them, but it is what it is. I'm not going to make the bottom line was this. I don't want to walk around as a chameleon. I want to be who I am. And if that turns some people off, it's better than turning me off.
Good point.
And I was turning me off for years. And you know what? Unless you want to send me $10,000 to cover my nut a month, you know what? Then I'll get on my knees and bark like a dog. But until then, you know what? I'm being me.
Yeah.
Lose my number. I'm not forcing you to talk to me, but I hope you do. I hope you realize I'm human. And I hope you realize that I never intended to hurt people because I hurt myself while I hurt those people. If I had to see the accumulation effect of what happened to me because of the things I did, probably would have never done them. But that's life. I didn't have a crystal ball. My transistor batteries went out on my crystal ball. I don't have a ball. So what I do now is I know if I try to act according to the way other decent people live, I'm not going to have to worry tomorrow. And that's what I try to do.
So what I sense is, and I think you would agree, is, you know, once you finally in 2007 identified what the challenge is, and it looks like you fixed it, or at least manage it. Manage it. Big difference, right?
Yeah.
And again, some people were on board and you were okay. Some people were not okay. And again, we talked about living your truth and being who it is. Do you find yourself finding triggers, or do you find yourself ever getting tempted to go back to that dark place?
The dark place meaning what? The social clubs, gambling, and all that stuff?
That, and also maybe stuff that you've done when you were under maybe an episode of mental illness, either or.
Okay. Well, I was into coke in the 80s like everyone else was. I didn't go buy it. I was a bouncer in a big club.
Probably were much thinner.
Yeah, well, actually now I'm 30 pounds lighter than I was because of diabetes. Now I watch the cops. But I think that gambling, I noticed when I go to Vegas, I used to move games for the Kosher Connection, the MIT guys in the late 90s.
Oh, sure.
And Billy Walters, a big guy that's been on TV, Bill Stripmalls. Yeah, I used to meet with him once a month. Doyle Brunson, I used to meet. And
Doyle Brunson?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. At the Horseshoe, I used to meet him down at Binion's. Very bright guy. He knew
his son's kind of a dick, right?
I don't know his son, but he knew if there was 4-1 against him pulling a straight, backdoor straight, and it was 5-1 in the pot, he knew to go in or not. Brilliant. He was in his mid-60s, 97. In 1997.
Texas Dolly.
Yeah. He was probably 65, 66 when I knew him. And he's got to be, what, 88
he's still alive?
Now? I don't know, but he's got to be 88 now.
Yeah, he's not.
And I moved for those guys. What they did with baseball, they had a numerical, you'd like this, numerical value for each player. They wait till the liners came out at 6 o'clock. It was all about mathematics. If they thought a team, if they added up 28 cents Mike Piazza, 19 cents Beltran, if they added up and the Mets should be a 145 favorite and they're a 157 favorite, dog. It was all about math. They felt
that they developed an arbitrage system.
Right, where they felt if they got the better of the numbers at the end of the year, they were going to be on top. They had no stake. They didn't care who won.
Well,
It
you
was
just
on
have to
them.
be 55% to be up, correct? With the VIG?
53.
53. Okay.
It depends if you're taking, well, a flat line where you're just laying 110. And what happened was,
Wait, you know a lot about gambling. I noticed you were offering some picks before.
yeah, I'm doing actually good. We're about 12-4 with them in college football and pro football.
With the line or straight
With the
money?
line. With the line. I have a guy that used to
12
work
and
with
4?
12-4. Well, I have a guy in Vegas
Sure.
that used to work with me, and he's about 75 years old. He's been thrown out of every bookmaker in the East. That's why he went out there. Sharpest guy I ever met. And he gives me his picks, and I give them for free to people. I actually tell them before I go on, I said, listen, this is a gambling segment. If you're recovering, if you don't want to gamble, please turn it off. I don't want people to start gambling because I'm telling them this stuff. But you know what happened? I was talking about stories, and people said, who do you like in the football game tonight? A bunch of the guys were interested in the betting. I wasn't going to bring it up. But yeah, I'm good with numbers. I have a finance background, Echo, minor in Echo, and from NYU, Stern School. And
Oh, you went to Stern?
Stern School does shit.
I have a
And-
funny, quick Stern story.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I plan to go to Stern. I wound up going to Fairleigh Dickinson in New Jersey, and I bombed. I'm talking. To just give a little background, everybody. So you go for your GMATs, you get 800, and you get 400 for signing your name, right? And I was part of the adaptive. So like you literally, if the first two questions go wrong, you're done and you never get out, right? It's called an adaptive, and I think they since changed it. So I did my GMATs. The written, I did 5 out of 6, which would have gotten me in the Stern.
Yeah.
I got like a 450 on my GMAT. I'm talking like I might have gotten more if I signed my name correctly. It was
Really?
that I have an issue with standardized tests. I don't know if it's ADD. I probably should be on meds, some Adderall or whatever. I do not do well on standardized tests. So I got into Fairleigh Dickinson because they had a deal with my corporation at the time, and they were going to pay for it. And it's funny because at the time our CEO went to Stern, and they gave a fuck ton of money to Stern. So I thought I had it in. I was too low on the totem pole. So I wound up not going to Stern because I bombed the GMAT.
Stern was a good school. I enjoyed it. But Washington Square, I used to hang out there in the early night. It was a little different.
How much weed did you smoke?
I'm not a weed smoker.
Okay, good.
I never smoked pot. I had asthma when I was little, and I think I always wondered. I had the doctor check me because I thought maybe my mother was telling me that, so I didn't do anything wrong. But no, I never really smoked pot. But yeah, it was school was interesting. So with the gambling, I was a numbers guy.
Okay.
And I like the numbers. I like the, I like the challenge of winning, and that's what all gambling is, because you listen to Al Pacino in that movie he did with Matthew McConaughey. Everyone that gambles has an inherent they want to lose, because what's the definition of insanity, right? To expect an outcome to be different when it's always been the same, and I just like it. I don't really gamble anymore. So when I used to go to Vegas, like I was going to tell you, the bipolar, if I was flying, I could tell I was interrupting people when they're talking. And that's why YouTube's helped me. It's forced me to say, calm down. And I had to. But you're just euphoric.
Yeah.
And you don't know what the ramifications are after the evening when you come down and, oh my God, I lost 8,000. Where I probably, if I was not flying, wouldn't have. So I knew triggers. I knew not to go lights, camera, action, the casino if I was feeling high. Problem, Tom, was I could be feeling fine, and the 2-hour drive to Atlantic City, then I'm high. I don't know. It's not like epilepsy where you get the aroma, the smell, and then you have a seizure. I don't know. So the best I could do is not do it. And
so hold on. Here's my question, though. So where do you land today? Because we talked a lot about the past. You give some picks. Can you reasonably, and now it's legal now, can you reasonably sports gamble?
Yeah. Oh, I was never a degenerate.
Okay.
Never. I never went over my head, really. When I was 21, I did with Sonny Giuliano and stuff. I was a kid. Yeah. But no, I'll bet $100. I'll take a couple of games I love, put 100 each on them, and that's it. I'll use one of those legal betting sites in Costa Rica. I'm not going to any bookies. There's no bookies around me now. But yeah, it's fine. I go weeks without playing, but this guy gave me the picks, and I figured people were asking, so I give them to them. And I said, listen, don't blame me if they lose, but you're asking me who I like. I'll give you a guy that is at least is learned in it and does well. And that's, it's interesting gambling, I think.
My fiance jumped back in, so thank you for that. Thank you, Father Time. He's helped. You know what? I'm gonna give a sign of trust right now. I'm gonna give Father Time a wrench. Am I able to give a wrench?
Oh wow.
Well, you can't give wrenches from here? Message. I thought,
Tom,
yeah, you can.
Tom,
Father Time, you have a wrench.
Tom, that's like making a guy. That's like making a guy. Congratulations.
Well, no, I'll tell you why. Father Time. So again, I'm not going to get into the past because that's the past, right? So when I kind of managed my own show 100%, there was a lot of blocked people. And again, not to talk about the past, but I'm like, hey, you know what? It's new beginning. Let me just go. I unblocked that. I think I blocked everybody. And Father Time was one of them. And you got to forgive me, Father Time. I think he shot a note. I don't think it's private, but public, whatever. Hey, you know what? He was going to have fun with it. He's like, hey, you blocked me, or hey, you thought I was a jerk, but you know what? You're kind of an okay guy. So I just made him a wrench. Father Time, have at it. I'm going to trust you. He could totally sandbag me right now. And that's okay. But I'm going to go on faith and be okay. But the best part too is I don't really have, I don't think I'm popular enough on my own. I don't have a lot of trolls. I have got not a lot of negative comments. One thing I can tell you though, Vinny. So I when I was in the old show, I had an author, and I'm not going to say her name because I don't, I'm not like that. But she went on one of the forums, the Black Hand Forum. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
Black Hand Forum is more of like a mobologist forum. It's more like the people that are really hardcore, like, and I'm not knocking anybody. Everybody has their stuff. I'm like a mobologist light, but like these guys are like sitting in their like departments having like the Genovese crime family, and they're like, okay, hey guys, does Joey No-Nos reported to so-and-so? And it's actually a pretty interesting community if you want to learn about current mob information. So of course they mobbed the last show. So this particular person put a link. Hey, the NBA is a brokester. Here's why. So like I popped in there very, very infrequently. So I popped in, I clicked in, it says Thomas J. LaVecchia is bankrupt and all these different things. Now I make it a point on my personal documents, anywhere I saw my name in a professional fashion. My middle name is Felix. Don't make fun of me. My father's name in English. And I said, hey, that's not me. My name is Thomas F. LaVecchia. Now we're in an important world in the Black Hand Forum, but I have business dealings. I deal with a lot of doctors, lawyers, and professionals. If they think I'm illiquid or they think I'm bankrupt, you could hurt me. And aside from being libelous,
absolutely,
and me getting my lawyers already on retainer, what the fuck? Now I'm gonna give her credit. She made a public apology and she commented behind the scenes. She's like, hey, I was just angry because you're co-host. But the part I don't get is people really came after me, and that's what people don't understand. They came after me disproportionately hard, as I have my cat here. Disproportionately hard, Vinny. And like went after my fiance, went after me. And I have like 4 cats. Don't make fun of me.
I don't get the fiance bit though. I don't get why they go after women. I don't get it. Maybe it's because I don't do it, but I don't get it.
So I'm gonna, the truth of the matter is, so because I do digital marketing, right? And I'll give you like, for example, in Google, right? Google considers YouTube to be a social medium, meaning like Facebook, YouTube, etc. So believe it or not, YouTube is social media without you knowing it. You can like, you can comment, you can subscribe, you can do community, you can do shorts. So it's like Instagram, it's like YouTube, it's a social medium. That's the bottom line, right? So what I try to do is I wanted to kind of humanize myself a little bit by posting pictures of my fiance and me, posting the baby, kind of posting my life a little bit, because I wanted people like, eventually we knew, John and I, we did have a show, and just like everything else, it ends, right? So I don't want to get left like holding bag, or I didn't want to like, hey, like who's this jerk off? I wanted people to know me a little bit. So as I showed a little bit behind the scenes, people got really ugly behind the scenes about me, about my life, etc. But again, the nice thing about it, and I will say this, is when we separated the show, I haven't seen really anything other than Doug on your channel. I haven't seen anything negative since. So that I'll give people. I'm not liking that they got on me. I'm not liking that they said inappropriate things. And then one of the two people that did say something to my fiance again apologized. So
Okay.
the truth of the matter is it's getting better, and I'm just creating a lot of content. And I have something interesting today, which I think you will enjoy. Okay.
Yeah.
I had a guy on today, Dave Canton, who's a great guy, and he is a like a motivational speaker, owns a lot of car dealerships. He's also married to Dina Manzo, who's one of the housewives, right? But he remains a positive attitude. And I'm going to send you a link to his podcast.
Please.
He told me today, legacy. So what I suffer from, and I got to get over this, is I've done okay for myself. I am not complaining.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not complaining. Every day above ground is a good day. 3 beautiful children, beautiful fiance, have my health. I'm happy. But I made some moves in life where I think I could have been 3 or 4x better. And I described that in terms of financially. He goes, don't look at it that way. He goes, success is defined by happiness. Success is defined by happiness. And I'm pretty happy, you know, and I hope you are too. So that's my next question.
I am.
What took you to get to this happiness, and define me your happiness, which is your success? I know it's a hokey question, but it's
no, it's not. I want to come out with the right. Okay, I'll tell you that I'm able to sit comfortably now and talk about things that I perceive myself to be a jerk off for doing, and now not wanting to go in and take a bottle of pills because of it. That I'm okay. I'm not okay with it, but I accept it. So I've humanized myself. And I think that's the hardest thing to do. You know, all these content guys, the mob content guys, I learned a long time ago, until I shell out forgiveness, I have to forgive myself. Because anybody who's shelling out forgiveness and just accolades to people, it's all plastic if you hate yourself. If you start accepting that you're human. See, none of us want to be human. That's why we don't think we're ever going to die. That's why, you know, only when you're older, you give a shit about hell because you know you're closer to it. At 25, I didn't give a shit about hell. But I think that now, you know, you have a woman in your life that you love. You have a son that's relatively together. You know, how could in this country right now with the climate, how can anybody be perfect? But
yeah,
I just feel that I am happy. Now, I'd be foolish to say I'm 100% happy because that means that I could just roll over now and go to sleep. I want to do things that I may not know today what I want to do, but something might come up tomorrow, Tom, that I say, wow. So I don't want to, while I'm living, I don't want to stop the clock. I want the clock to continue and play the game of existence until it's over and really challenge myself each day. Now, I have a couple of questions for you.
Shoot, brother.
3 questions, because
Okay.
I think you're at 3/4 now at the bottom. I waited.
Oh, and by the way, people got on me about drinking on the show. So the truth of the matter is, this is meant for wine and cigars.
Yeah.
Put it out there, free
Yeah.
flowing. We're having a nice time. By the way, I'm in New Jersey. It's freaking. It's like 67 degrees. It's like a summer
Beautiful
night.
out. Yeah. You're outside?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, 3 questions.
Shoot.
And I'll rattle them and then you can answer me.
Go.
And you don't have to answer them, honestly. 1, do you still watch sit down news? Just out of habit. 2, are you happy? And 3, is YouTube everything you thought it would be?
Wow, these are great questions. Okay. Do I watch Sit Down News? I believe since the split, he released 3 videos.
Oh.
I watched 1 out of the 3.
Do you see a big difference in him? Like sit down news while he was your partner, even though you weren't with him during that. And now that you're not his partner, Has it changed them at all? Can you see a difference?
What I saw, he seemed more open and more not jovial, but just like he seemed more and it's interesting because Sit Down News is his own gig.
Right.
And he did great at it. So like when we were together, like I you know, it's not even me, he didn't need me. What I liked is he will have, by the way, I found him when I looked at Cosa Nostra News and saw Sit Down News. I thought it was fantastic. By the way, his blog is second to none. I'm being honest.
He's
cancel your Capizzi subscription.
Yeah, he's
go to him, go to him immediately. So I did notice a little bit, but I didn't see the other two. And not that I'm trying to hate on him or I'm not watching yet or I'm hurt.
No.
It's just I just watched one of the three. I noticed a slight difference, nothing super meaningful. And here's the thing. I really believe in my heart, and the numbers prove it, which is a data portion, that John, when we met, I was already, monetized. I had 2,500 subs. I had a smaller channel, and John wasn't even on YouTube. I believe in my heart that by him hooking up with me and doing the 100 shows, getting this up to 8,000, him getting up to just, I think, south of 7,000, I think that was a right path for both of us, not one of us.
Absolutely.
That could he stuck around a little more? Absolutely. Could there maybe have been more juice to be squeezed from the grape? Absolutely. But neither of us, I believe, got the short end of the stick.
I don't think so.
So,
And happy? You happy?
Right now I'm happy, and I'll tell you why, where I get happiness. So sometimes you have to lose to gain, and things are simple for me. I really love, I got a new chance in life. I'm in the second relationship. I'm fiancéed. I'm getting married again soon. I have a beautiful 1-year-old daughter. I got a beautiful 12-year-old and 9-year-old. So I'm learning to enjoy the simple things in life. I'm learning to be present. I will tell you this much. When I got into it, I got very distracted. Got negative comments. I got, a lot of stuff that I didn't have to deal with. There was an element, not that it happened. So here's what's interesting. I was talking to somebody today who was asking me about what's going on, right? Thank you, Rob, for that comment. I'm toggling back and forth. I'm not seeing a lot of the comments.
No, go ahead.
But so here's what's interesting. So when I did the podcast, typical NBA, what are the pros and cons? What's the upside? What's the downside? So you got to remember, I'm still in New Jersey. There's still knockaround guys. Yeah. I was never worried about a made guy is not going to beat me up, right? But I am worried about an associate who's looking at his button, who maybe I go to ShopRite, I go here, I go there. I think I've been open about it. I do have some family members and people that I know that are connected. Not extensively, but enough to right. What the fuck you doing, Tom? Right. I did get less invites to things lately because of it. Really? That's my personal, but these are also friends that I weren't super close to either. Okay. I miss a 6-year-old birthday party because you think you're a wise guy. That I don't care about. Right. But
you almost want to miss it.
Agreed. But I will tell you this though. There is and was a certain element of risk, whether people like it or not. Right. But here's the funny part. There was no back channel, no somebody I knew, half an associate called me up and said, hey, you might want to slow down, or hey, stop the show, or hey, you went too far. I actually give the wise guys credit. Nobody back channeled, nobody reached out, nobody disturbed me. It was the trolls and the online stuff that was getting a little unbearable for me. And that was making me unhappy. So now that that's lifted, and the fact that I don't think I need to worry as much about security, I'm very happy about that. And what was the third question? Or was that the third question?
About YouTube. I think you answered it.
Yeah. So I'm loving YouTube more now. What's interesting is I really thought that at 8,000 subs or whatever it was, I thought I was going to have. I thought I was going to lose 1,000. I thought I was going to lose 500. I lost 300 net because I gained. I probably lost 500, but I gained another 200. And I'm gotta tell you, the guys that didn't like me put their money where their mouth was. They went over my way and now this channel's way because that was holding them back. And I'm an interesting guy, like in a sense where like Mark Cuban turned me down. I've been emailing him. He was gonna come on, and he's like, Tom, I'm just too swamped.
Really?
I said, Mark, I said, when can I get you on? So here's what I'm good at, Vinny. I'm good at getting the guests that I want on. Again, I always say this. Now there might be bigger people. Can I get Biden on? Can I get Trump on? I met Trump before, but can I get like all these big? I don't want them on, right? I'd love it, but there's people that I want on that are different, that are like you, that are out there,
I appreciate
that are like making their own lane. So I'm pretty good at getting people that I want on, that want to be on. So I line up some really good guests. I got Ramona Rizzo as a friend. She's coming on next week. I think I mentioned that. I think we're gonna film Monday, and I'll probably release it on Tuesday. I'm super excited about Antonio Nicasio. Like I get nervous when the guy wrote. You ever see Bad Blood on Netflix?
Yeah, sure.
That's off his book.
That's amazing.
So you gotta remember, like he grew up in Calabria. Like it's not here.
Calabria.
Grew up in Calabria. And you talk bad about the mob, you die.
It just sounded like Carlo Gambino in the Gotti movie. We come out the Sunday, you die.
I have a funny Indagata story because my ex-wife is Calabrian. There was an insult made to the local chieftain in one of the small towns in Calabria, which I won't say which, but a lot of them are in Newark. And what happened was, because there was an insult made to the local Indagata boss, they have like different like mayors of each town. They run like a corporation. They poisoned the wedding cake of the son of the father who insulted them. And it was enough, not where nobody died, but pretty much about 1,700 people had diarrhea for a week.
Oh my God.
So there's shit that they do there that you just can't get away with.
That's crazy.
That you can get away with here, right? So Antonio is impressive to me because he stands up against the mafia. He's like a thought leader, and he covers, and this is where it's interesting. He covers Indagata, which is a fucking mystery as fuck. He does do some Cosa Nostra, he does do some more, but he also talks about the Canada connection between the Canada Mafia and Calabria and Sicily. What's interesting is, I don't know if you follow this, and for those that are watching Big Eighth, if you're on, if you could shed some light, I don't know if you jumped off yet. In Canada is like the 80s and early 90s, bodies are dropping every day. Look at Sal Montagna. He went up there. The iron guy thought he was going to take over 2 weeks later.
The iron worker, right? Sal the iron worker?
Long Island. Went up there, Sicilian, but Canadian born, lasted 2 weeks. Canada's no joke. So for those that are really into mob stuff, and I don't knock the five families, and they're formidable, they're serious, Canada is like super serious because of their connections with the old country.
You know who knew people in Canada? Frank Cali. I knew Frank Cali.
You knew Frank Cali, really?
Yeah, 18th Avenue, sure.
What were your thoughts on him?
He was smart. A gentleman.
Do you remember?
He was a gentleman.
The Cherry Hill Gambinos had a cafe on 18th Avenue as well, correct? Joe Gambino and Joe and John.
There was one on 18th Avenue in 66, not far from Tally's, where Gravano had a restaurant. Yeah. I'm not sure if it was that one, but Cali used to hang out on like 73rd, I think, in 18. He was like 7 years younger than me, maybe. He was a gentleman. I tell you, I know someone he sat down for. He wasn't a pig.
Yeah.
He didn't gone for everything. I'll give you a little red meat because I was going to tell you this the other day when we were on the phone.
Please.
You know, your ex-partner who used to talk about a story in Staten Island about a girl and the two guys. He used to tell a story about the two guys. Remember that?
Yes.
Well, one of them is my good friend. And
really?
Yeah. And when I went to Brooklyn, when I first started doing this, I ran into him. One is back in jail. Yeah. And I said, listen, this is what I do. You have a problem with it? And he said, I know you're out of your fucking mind. I know him since he's 5, the younger brother.
Yeah.
The other one just went away again. The other one got away out because of COVID about a year ago. And I grew up with him. He worked in the candy store with me, May 25th. And I said, He said, "Don't talk about your ex."
Uh-oh.
He said, and I said, "Well, what do you mean? Don't talk about it?" He goes, "Well, no story." But I will tell you this much: the story he tells about being in that Italian restaurant in Staten Island and the guy come over, what about your girlfriend or something?
Yeah.
Absolutely true. It happened.
Oh, wow.
He's telling the truth.
Wow.
Yeah. So that'll give you a little. Yeah, he was telling the truth. Because I kind of asked his good friend, and he goes, "Yeah, he was telling the truth." And I'll tell you, when I met JP, you would think he was a doctor. He was very well dressed, a nice looking guy. You would never, if I told you that was my internist, you would have said, "Oh, really?" He doesn't look like the kind of guy. He could be a stockbroker or anything. But yeah, I figure you get a kick out of that. But and I asked, I said, "Do you have a problem me doing a YouTube channel?" He said, "Well, you're not really going if you're talking about stuff you did." He goes, "You're not mentioning my name." I said, "I'm not mentioning your name. Fucking no one gives a shit about you anymore." He laughed.
Yeah.
So, but it was interesting how it imitates life. Art imitates life with this. And I just never understood that how content guys don't realize that going back and forth and hating people, you know what? People are going to tune into you, people have loyal subscribers. They're going to look at you anyway, whether you like someone or not. People unsubscribe for me because you like this guy. I don't know him. Is he coming over to Thanksgiving? No. But why do I have to knock the guy?
Wait, so hold on. Come on, Vinny. We had a little wine already. You got knocked on, you had an X amount of subs. You took a little bit of a ding.
I lost 20. I lost 20 when I mentioned Vinny. And I got them back. Yeah. Over a couple of days, I got them back. Yeah. Because I said, I don't think he's because he went out. Do you remember the episode he went out with a cigar and he was at his house? And he said, "I heard this guy, Brooklyn guy, he's a nice guy, blah, 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 blah."
Oh, he plugged you. That's right.
He plugged me. So what happened was I said, "Thank you so much" to him. I thought it was really nice. And people left me.
Wow.
And I said, "Do me a favor if you left. Don't come back." Because if you're going to leave me, it's like breaking up with me and coming back with me. I don't need it. If you don't want me to be honest with you, what the fuck do you need me for?
How many subs are you at right now?
505, I think, or 508, 502.
Got 74 people watching. I never ask. I don't think I did. That's actually part of my problem. I'd rather you sub with yours before mine because you deserve it. You're gentle. Listen, we've been on what, I'm still on more. You have a little more time, right?
I have all the time you want. I love it. I wish
right.
I could like this damn thing, but I'll get thrown out of the house. My son will kill me.
That's why I'm outside.
I know.
We're on the same thread, my brother. All right. So Jimmy Calandra, right? So you were a little after his time. And we know the Beth Avenue crew was a very serious crew.
They were real. They were real.
Now, where do you land on that in a sense where obviously each crew was a farm system? Well, they were the Bananos.
They were the Banano farm system.
And how much of it was, and I think I don't watch Jimmy enough, I'm getting more into it, but do you think the wise guys legitimately just use these guys, didn't give a shit, probably took, kick up, never had any intentions of making half of these kids? Or do you think they were all true, farm system cultivated and would have all got their button?
Well, it's like a farm system where you have 25 minor leaguers in AAA. Not all are going to make it to AAA. I think Galena was looked at as a capable guy. I definitely think Spiro thought he was capable. I know someone who knew Spiro. I knew Spiro. And I didn't know him well, but I knew him. I think he thought he was capable. I can't speak for the rest, but the guy I knew who knew Paulie said that, he was being moved.
Now, I know it's just...
I don't know about the others. I don't know about the others.
Just for my own curiosity, that I think I guess it was the 80s. Well, first of all, I wouldn't push a captain now, but push a captain back then. And here's my other thing. And people, I think Baith is still on. I want some of the Brooklyn guys. I'm going to say a statement. I'm going to get shit for it, but I'm going to say it. To me, Spiro was Gotti of Brooklyn. Agree or disagree? He was
not quite as flashy, but
no, in terms of power.
Oh yeah.
Had serious hitters, try to work the community, was serious as fuck, moneyed,
Yeah.
capable guys, capable
Fourth of
associates.
July did a Bath Avenue fireworks show you wouldn't believe.
I heard he used
Yeah.
to. I heard he used to light up $100,000 in fireworks just at that show.
If that's the real number. He used to own Apple. I think it was Apple Corsair, Apple Limousine, or whatever the hell it was on Bath Avenue, and his daughter ran it. And he was a real guy. In fact, I dealt with the person, Mark Goldberg, who he got hit for killing.
Oh wow.
Mark Goldberg was a big bookmaker, Jewish guy, older than me. Probably I was 24, he was maybe 30, 31. He had Active Automotive, Active Collision, I think it was called, on McDonald Avenue in Brooklyn, Bensonhurst. And he was a bookmaker, big bookmaker. And back in the day, I was playing with him. And then I heard years later that Spiro got arrested for that murder. I had heard he got murdered, but I never knew that they had a connection.
Oh
But
wow.
he was a big earner. That Goldberg was a big
And
earner.
I want to preface this too. In terms of Brooklyn, I would say the Gottis of Brooklyn were him. I would say obviously Sammy at the time because it was underboss.
Sammy.
Obviously Persico, and then Ali Shades at the Genovese in terms of own pastels and
Ali Shades, yeah, I used to see him all the time in pastels. He had a little crew. He owned a few places, but he was, Ali Shades was a real guy. He was a nice guy, Ali Shades. My friend knows his son.
Yeah.
He evidently has a son that's a nice guy. But yeah, Spiro was the real deal. You know, a real old timer, pigeons, flying pigeons on the roof and all that shit.
Yeah.
But Spiro in that neighborhood, Shorty Spiro. I know Shorty lived in the set. Shorty was very close. You hung out in Manhattan at all?
In terms of Manhattan, I was like a Limelight guy, Palladium, Club USA, the Peter Gation clubs at that time. It was before bottle service ruined everything in terms of hanging out. Brooklyn, I was Diker Park. This is after the 19th hole closed, and there was an Asian spot we called the Walk, and I would go there.
Oh, the 19th hole. That was Christie's place. That was the Harlem crew. I knew a couple of guys in there.
And I'm old. I think I'm old. I'm young enough where I missed that I like literally mid 90s. I think where things were dying down. Diker Park, the Walk, Vegas Diner. I literally confined myself to the area. Obviously, I would go to the 18th Avenue Feast. The 20th Avenue Feast actually was pretty strong back then. I don't know about now. I would go to that. I think there's a big 3rd Avenue Feast in Bay Ridge. It wasn't necessarily an Italian feast, more of a feast. That's what I used to do, and I loved it. And it was a fun time,
Absolutely. Well, Bensonhurst is 3 square miles or 2.9 square miles. I think right now, 52% Caucasian and 47% Asian. I think that's what the mix-up is there. The mix. And I'll tell you the crew that to me was the scariest Scarpa crew. I used to go to Wimpy Boys on 13th Avenue, his social club, Rick Scarpa Social Club. I knew a guy, Johnny Sapp. Johnny Sapp was one of these guys. Someone had asked me if I knew Larry Mazza. Never met him. But then again, as a 22-year-old, I might have been in that club.
Johnny Sapp, I heard of.
Johnny Sapp, yeah. They lived in Staten Island. All of them lived in Staten Island. Scarpa moved from Dyke Heights to Staten Island. Sapp lived in Staten Island. Johnny Sapp was a nice guy. I borrowed my first 5,000 with him around 1982. Nice guy. But that crew was real. They were real.
My buddy was friends with BF Guerra. He was a Colombo guy. He was an associate, but he had a lot of weight in the area.
Really? Yeah, and Shorty was friends with Greg Scarpa. Shorty, the luncheonette I worked at, was a captain. In fact, I'm sure everybody's heard the Gravano story. How Gravano was a Colombo guy.
Yeah, when he started out.
And that caused the problem with Ralph Spiro because Ralph Spiro's son, was named after Shorty. Shorty's name was Tommy.
Oh.
And what happened was when they did a piece of work in the Rampers, and Shorty went to Sammy and said, Rafaci wants to meet you. And Ralph always had a hard on saying, your nephew was named after you. Why aren't you promoting him? And they owned a store called Hole in the Wall on 86th Street. And it was stuff that was supposedly stolen, so people wanted more because it's stolen. Yeah. And Ralph, someone came in with the receipt, and Shorty saw Ralph was robbing from him. So Ralph, in turn, started a rumor about Gravano. And Shorty said, listen, I know my brother's a dick, but you can't do anything to him. And they released him to the Gambino family. That's when he got released. But Gravano knew Tommy well, and I knew Tommy well. Tommy was about his age, but Tommy owed me 3,000 before it. Tommy was just a neighborhood guy living off his uncle and his father's name. But those guys were real. 13th Avenue was real. The Scarpa crew, because you know what, crazy's better than real.
Yeah.
Tom. Like Roy DeMeo. Who the hell would ever want to screw with him? Is he true mafia or true sociopath? A psychopath?
Oh, he's a serial killer.
Yeah, right. I'd rather deal with the mobster because he might have a little empathy and not want to kill me, might smack me around a little. This guy cut your head off.
Yep. One of the psychopaths of the mob. I mean, many psychopaths, but probably the psychopath of the mob.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
One of our great, a friend at this point, but also a great viewer of the show. Did you know Anthony Frez?
No.
Okay. You just asked. I'm assuming that was more towards you. You think? Well, actually, you know what? I gotta have real Brooklyn guys on, so I gotta eat my words a little bit. He goes, "You think Anthony Spear is bigger than Frank DeChico?" I probably should have added Frank DeChico in on probably one of the more important Brooklyn.
Frank DeChico, yeah.
Yeah.
Frank
Did you ever meet him?
No. Never.
Where were you when his car blew up?
That happened in '86, right?
That was across from
85.
That was on 86th Street, across from the Vegas Diner, right?
Yeah. It was. It used to be where Joe Colombo's Chevy dealer was, not far, like 15th Avenue, something like that. They used to go to Tomasino's, or I think it's Tomaso's or Tomasino's restaurant there every Tuesday night to sit down.
Oh wow!
I heard about it. And that was a shit show.
Let me ask you, because I always wondered this, and this now is history, so you can't even ask current guys because it's history. So Chico gets hit, Borriello gets hit, and I think it's every 5 years. It's funny because I said this to John actually, and John didn't really confirm it, but he said it made sense. There's like an old Sicilian thing that if they get back at you, they will kill you on the same date, like every 5 or 6 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
A very long time, yeah.
Really?
So the Chico and Borriello, I believe, were hit on the same day in terms of the year. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't mean to disrespect the Borriello family. I know a lot of them are coming on YouTube, so I don't mean any disrespect, but I believe they were hit on the same day. And so, as I understand, let's call it what it is. Chin was behind all of it. We could have Casso. There could be from people. So why do you think Gotti, as powerful as he was, left the Chico and Borriello hit unanswered, in your opinion?
I think the Chico hit, it was 1 for 1. Okay. I think they missed Gotti, and they took out his guy.
Yeah.
And they took Chin was very close to Castellano, and I think they took out Castellano. They had their shot with Gotti and missed, and I think they felt they didn't all want an all-out war. And I think they said, 1 for 1. That's what I think it was.
And what about Borriello?
I'm not sure about that, honestly. But I think, listen, Chin didn't like Gotti. He didn't like him because he felt he broke every rule in the book. But and I don't know if he broke every rule in the book because I wasn't there. But I do think that the old timers, this was the new blood coming in. What was Gotti, 45 when he took over?
Yeah. Which is young to be a boss back then.
Very young. And the way it all came down, and I think Gotti had to be a bit paranoid because look, he didn't know Sammy Gravano. Gravano was with Castellano.
Yeah.
He was in a Staten Island group. People are under the misconception that all these guys and families know each other. All these guys in there's 5 captains. No, they don't. They might see each other at a wake or a wedding. They don't know each other. There's competition between these crews. The captains probably know each other because they sit down when it goes up. But I think that there's a lot more treachery that goes on. And that's why when people say about, oh, you like rats, I said, you know something? There are more CIs out there, 10 to 1 than rats.
Yeah.
And you could be best friends with one and you don't know. I said, so unless you were there, you could have your opinions, but you have to be open to suggestion because everyone has an opinion. But yeah, I think that Yeah, Chin was ruthless. And I'll tell you the truth. I might be totally wrong. I don't think Gotti wanted to go against Chin. I think he knew it would be a bloodbath. And I think just taking over a family and trying to get your own people to accept you,
Yeah.
and then having to go to war with someone else and not be able to even get to know your family first.
Yeah.
I think he was smart enough to realize if I'm safe right now, because that's why he put Ruggiero on the shelf, because Ruggiero took the shot.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
he had to, because I think
also, and Bay 8th helped me out, bail me out here. Was it Eddie Lino? They also got him as well, which is a very important captain in the Gambinos as well.
I knew Eddie Lino's nephew. Eddie Lino's nephew lived on my block on West 8th Street, passed of leukemia. He had leukemia when we were about 9 years old. And they moved up to Poughkeepsie. And my dad knew him. And yeah, he passed away very young, probably maybe 15, he passed away. And yeah, he was a heavyweight. He was really a heavyweight.
Let's fast forward to 2021. The other Gambinos that are run by the Sicilians, right? And I'm not going to say names in terms, because I don't know it. I'm not a first-hand guy, right? But my impression is the Sicilians took it over. There's obviously hard evidence to show that they reconnected with Sicilians. God knows what they're doing. Do you think they're going to have a really good run, or are we going to see something in the papers tomorrow? As a NBA smart guy, street guy, because you're one of the.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I think if Cali was alive, they would have had a better run.
Good point.
Cali was very close with the Sicilians. They trusted him. He was their emissary here. They knew that they trusted him. We knew him since he was, his family member. I think with him in tow, I think it would have had a better run.
Yeah.
Because now they have to groom someone here. He's been with them since the 80s.
Listen, I do not listen. I'm just like, I do not condone violence on anybody, right? But so like, you can't touch a made guy. Let's call it is, right? But you killed a boss, and obviously the kid is probably locked away, PC, never even touched.
I'm sure.
But like, remember, like the Sicilians, all bets are off. Like, there's no family, friends. Do you think like they were smart by leaving that guy's family alone? Let's remove ethics from this. Let's remove ethics, and let's talk business and talk business.
I do. Yeah, I do.
You think they were smart to leave the family alone?
What family? Meaning the wife and the kids? Yeah.
The young kid who killed Cali. They weren't touched, as far as I know. Yeah. And I believe, because I heard from good sources that they went to the family, and they have some family in Jersey too, and they were like, "Listen, like, you might want to go to a vacation," and they declined, and they're still around. So, do you think that they're like, do you think the Sicilians will probably exact revenge, or do you think they'll talk it up to cost in business?
I think if he was in Italy, the family wouldn't have been around. I think that because he was here, they knew it wasn't the mob hit. They knew the kid was whacked out, and it was an odd thing.
Yeah.
And but I do think there was a sit down about it. I'm sure.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I'm sure. But I think they said, listen, this is America.
Yeah.
We're here. We're doing well here.
Yeah.
And
did you hear, and this actually was unearthed not that long ago, did you hear that they were going to kill Mario Cuomo when he was going to visit Italy?
No. I didn't.
So the local Sicilian bosses were 100% going to do it, but there's two theories why it didn't happen.
Really?
Number one, he came with a bigger entourage and a bigger. I don't buy this part because they killed fucking Falcone and Borsellino. But anyway, one was he was a little more protected than they thought. There's like, oh, you know what, it's not worth it. And then the second, supposedly, because remember back then, like there was more of a connection with Italy, that the American guys were like, leave him alone, we don't need the headaches.
Right.
And then third theory is that his wife was connected, and that they, out of respect, they left him alone. I don't know.
I never heard that. I wouldn't think they'd give a shit about the wife. If they wanted him gone, he's gone. I think that if you want him gone to begin with, you have a pretty good reason. Italian guys, they're treacherous in Italy, but generally speaking, it's cut and dried. You know what you can get hit for. You know what you can't. And no, you know what? You don't know who to listen to when you hear these stories. I'm sure there are a lot of people in America that want Como gone.
Probably, yeah. Well, the son, hell yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But I'm not sure. I know Andrew Como should win the Realtor of the Year in Florida because everybody ran away from here to go there. But I think that, it's funny because you hear all these rumors. And some have to be true because usually out of rumors, there is some truth. Yeah. That's what they're based on. But that's interesting. I never heard that. But I do think the mob right now is in disrepair. I think that there are a couple of families that are certainly in disrepair. Yeah. I think the hit of the Colombo family, that sets them back. You're gonna
can't imagine that's not a hit, yeah.
Well, you're gonna have a 35-year-old guy who's Godfather soon in that family. Yeah. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Because they are more out there. Very rarely is a 35-year-old guy quiet. They have egos.
So one of the learnings from the previous show is, and I don't know about you, and I want to people drop a link in the city that's interested in, I have a certain fascination, and when I say secondary and tertiary, because I have in trouble for this. When I say secondary and tertiary, primary is obviously New York, Chicago, right? But when I mean by secondary mob cities or tertiary mob cities, talk about Milwaukee, San Jose, San Diego, San Francisco, Tampa, Kansas City. I won't say Detroit because I would put Detroit probably at primary. Yeah. My point being is I'm fascinated with the ancillary cities that either had really a mob presence, smaller families, but a mob presence, right? So for Tampa, for example, we had Scott Dici on, right? It's about 35 guys, all kind of related, 0 informants, and they all just eventually went legit. Is the purpose of a mob kind of that? I needed to be a gangster. I needed it to get money in. And then eventually you migrate towards, legitimacy. Or do you think it's a way of life? Because I can't imagine the way of life as a mafioso being sustainable in 2050 in the US. I just don't. Where do you land on that?
I think that to make a living and become a mobster, I think a lot of the guys that did that, after a while, you can't go legit. I think that you've lost your direction in the, where you're going to go to make that kind of money when you used to making $2 a week. Now you're going to make $30 an hour. I think that, you've already built yourself a base within where it's like too far. It's like buying a used car and putting 8,000 in it. You can't sell it now. You're married to the car. You put so much money into it. I think once they pass that point, I think it does something to you. It really does. I think you change.
So you're a smart guy. You have a little bit of street knowledge, maybe by more than most. You're head of an administration. Do you import guys from the other side? Do you let it ride its wave to dissipate? What do you do?
I think there are a certain amount of associates that they grew up with that they think are very capable, that they've done things with since they're 18 years old. I think those are the guys you keep around you. I'd be very leery of anyone that they don't know being made. I think you'd really have to prove yourself. So it's going to be much more insulated now. I think you have to have 2 guys to sponsor you now. It's not 1 anymore. It's been that way for a while. You have to have 2 guys to sponsor you. Yeah. And I think that people aren't going to be so ready to sponsor someone if they flip, you're getting killed. That's why I think it's different now. I don't know how many people are going to take a chance with all the ratting that's going on of, God forbid, this guy's facing 50 and gives me up. That I get killed. And I think It's a different world now with technology. They make it a living to come after you now. Paul Castellano, they used to make him take a shower, shave before they took him, and they had tea in his house. Now they're not doing that. They have a hard on for guys. I know a federal agent told me this. He said, we work our ass off. When we want to get these guys when they're 65, so they can't see their grandchildren, so they can't retire. We know what they're doing, but we're taking their whole older life away from them, where they don't see their kids married, grandchildren. He told me this. Now, I don't know if that was his personal feelings, but you know what? It makes sense.
Well, I was I don't want to get into it because it's a cousin of mine, but I was at John Riggy was a very powerful boss in New Jersey. Yeah. And my cousin, who has my same last name, married his granddaughter.
Wow.
And my mother was older. She was older. My father left early. So I was a guy that brought my mom to all the weddings, so I was her guest, So she was part of, obviously got invited because that was her cousin's, her first cousin. And, through marriage, but went to the wedding. And John Riggy actually called in to the wedding on a speakerphone and gave, his congratulations to the couple. So I took it two ways. Obviously, one, it was awkward because it was like, fuck, like he's like a serious guy, like, serious boss and that kind of stuff. But and all due respect, because he was a stand-up guy, right? But he didn't get to see his grandchildren get married. And like that to an Italian grandfather or any grandfather is probably one of the most meaningful events, to see your child's daughter get married. And my cousin's a great guy. I haven't spoken to him in years, but a great guy. So that kind of like threw me off a little bit in the life. I said, wow, wait a second. He's not going to be there to be, and again, he's a stand-up guy, so I'll give him that. But it also is the serendipitous cost of not being there for those super big events.
Yeah.
For your family.
And that breaks your heart when you're that age.
Yeah.
I think so. I'll tell you something. The thing about the oath that I always thought was ridiculous, and right away they were bullshitting. Right away. Any guy that put his hand, burnt the saint, put his finger out, the trigger finger, as soon as they said, if your son is dying in a hospital and we call you, you have to leave. Right there, you were lying on your oath, because I don't know one father that would do that.
Yeah.
And if you would do that, then you deserve everything you get.
Well, let me ask you, because again, I think your guy is qualified to answer this. I actually think, in a weird sort of way, if you get your butt now, not that it's harder to get, because it was super hard. I would like to think they're a little bit pickier, right? So when we did the show, there were some other commentators that were like, if you got your button after 2010, it was meaningless. I got to be honest with you. I disagreed with that statement. Where do you land on that?
It's not as meaningful as it was 25 years ago, but it's still meaningful for the guys that you're dealing with in the street.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with a wise guy, it's meaningful, this hands off. But, and I have to tell you, I had a guy behind me where if I needed, I was dealing with $100,000 a week. Yeah, I brought $130,000 in 2 shaving cases to Vegas. If a guy tried to beat me for $15,000, generally, if they're going to try to beat you, they have someone to sit for them. And okay, fine. And your guy walks in with you. You gotta hope your guy don't take 10,000 of the 15,000. That's the problem. They're hungry. Yeah. I used to call it rent the captain. Like I said, if you and I had a bookmaking and we were making $3,000 a week, and I went to the guy in the social club, I talked to you for a second, and he knows I'm not a cop. Listen, I have a little thing going. I'd like to give you tribute every week. Can you watch over us? I'd like your blessing. That's what you say. And I'd say, yeah. Give him an envelope every week. If you have a problem, you come to me. I'll sit down for you. These guys never did a thing for the guy to put money in his pocket. And I think that now when you deal with wise guys, it's not tough guy shit anymore. It's gambling now. It's Costa Rica. There's not many gamblers here anymore. There's bookmakers here that have a sheet into Costa Rica. They get their, they have 50 customers in there. They pay $20 a head. if I had 100 customers here, I'd have to pay rent, 4 clerks for 100 customers, 2 shifts a day. My nut is $6,000 a month. Where for $20 a week for each person, they give me the work. There's going to be no stealing.
Yeah.
Why would I be here? And
Good
that's
point.
what it. And that's what it is now. Now it's a business, and the gambling business is still a big business.
Yeah.
But you need a made guy, because if someone tries to beat you for a lot of money, if they know you're mobbed up, they're not going to try to beat you. If they know you're nobody, and the thing is, Tom, if you're a bookmaker, you beat one person, you're out of business if you don't pay him. You're a player, you could beat 1,000 bookmakers.
You're right.
So really, you have to keep your reputation. And if you got guys beating you and you don't do anything, why wouldn't I take a shot at you? You're not doing anything to me.
Did you ever get into a run-in or have a beef with the wise guy that you had to either go to somebody to settle or settle on your own?
Yeah, I had a beef with a wise guy. I cracked the wise guy's son in a bar.
Hey.
And right there, when you say, I have friends, it's supposed to stop. Once you say, listen, I'm with somebody, it's supposed to stop.
Yeah.
The kid's not supposed to go. Now, listen, if you're in the middle of fighting, you're not going, hey, wait a minute, you don't do that.
Right.
But yeah, and he hit his girlfriend. And I thought he was just a punk. And I found out that he was. And we sat down. And
Did you have somebody with you?
My guy was captain, yeah. My friend that I told you about. He came with me. And my friend said, the guy who I slapped said, hey, he goes, oh, I'm over your pay grade. Get your guy here. You go stand over there. That's what my friend said.
Wow.
You're the guy that John talks about. And he said, listen, he goes, with all due respect. Well, he brought a soldier. My guy was a captain. And he goes, listen, do you want me to call you my captain? Because really doesn't have to sit with him. He could say, listen.
Which is consistent with what
John
used to say. Yeah.
Oh, okay. He goes, get your captain. Yeah. And he said, no. No, my friend John said, no. We'll settle this here.
Yeah. I
said, I was wrong, but I was dead wrong. And not so much that you're a wise guy's son. I shouldn't hit you.
Yeah.
It's wrong. I should mind my business. But, you really cracked the heart. You were fine. I thought you split a head up. And his guy, who was a soldier, said, you did that? Like, he didn't even tell him why he was coming.
Yeah.
He just said, I cracked him. He didn't say why. He didn't bring the girl up. And he goes, John, this is squashed. He goes, don't worry about it. He goes, shake his hand. And we used to go to the same bar. And I wasn't going to stop going to that bar. It was a club.
Yeah.
It was Channel 80. And I
Oh shit, Channel 8, yeah.
Channel 80. And I used to say
that was that was in Queens.
Long Island, in Island Park. Long Island. So and I said I saw him in the bathroom, just like a gangster movie. I was about 27, 28. And he said, hey, listen, no hard feelings. I said, no, not at all. I said, I was wrong. I said, but and he shook my hand. We didn't become friends, but anytime I'd see him, hey, how you doing? Buy me a drink. And I'd buy him a drink. So there are ways to resolve things, especially when people are wrong, But yeah, and then you have the other way that a guy has to save face. I knew a guy, similar situation, knocked the guy out cold.
Oh, wow.
Guys came in looking for this guy at the bar the next day. Because the guy was a wise guy, this guy wasn't. And he had to pay for all the dental. He brought someone so we didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
But he had to pay. And, you're embarrassed. See, for some reason, with wise guy comes like you're Superman.
Yeah.
And if a civilian hits you, your friend, and friends are assholes. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to let him get away with that?
Yeah.
You know the way it is. So I bet you a lot of guys wouldn't even do anything the next day, but because there's pressure on them, peer pressure, they don't want to look weak.
Yeah.
That gets around. 100 people will know that in 3 hours. That happened to you.
So important question.
Yeah.
2021, what are you, October 15th, 14th, whatever you are. Is there any benefit to be connected nowadays, or it doesn't really matter? For you.
For me, no, it doesn't matter. But there's always that little part of me that says, hey, how you doing? Because
Yeah.
I guess growing up in Bensonhurst,
Yeah.
you always, it's, you know what it's like? I liken it to this. You have a mother-in-law that comes from the 40s.
Yeah.
Where they're waiting on cheese lines, turned out electricity for everything.
Yep.
She could have $10 million and you walk in on an 85-degree day, the lights are out, the air conditioners off.
Ooh, McDonald napkins in the cupboard.
They never forget. And my way of thinking is, I don't need them, but it's nice that I know.
Yeah.
Because you're always wondering, this world's crazy. But I don't go to bars and hit people, and I would stay away from it. But yeah, deep down, it should mean nothing. But it's always nice to know somebody, I think. And that's just coming from my point of view, because I grew up in that life.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with them. I'm selfish. I don't want to deal with you, but if I ever need you, you better come running because I know you for so many years. That's the kind of thing. But I don't get involved. I don't do anything where I would need them now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So here's the thing, right? In Sammy's book, which is, if you follow the history, the Cosa Nostra came over about a little almost 100 years ago to the U.S., right?
Mhm.
Black Hand preceded that. You could argue, if you count the Black Hand in the U.S., I don't know, 100. By the way, I kicked my bottle.
You got you're done?
I kicked it. If I'm slurring my speech, I own it.
I wish I could put this through to you because if I have another half hour, my sugar's
I gotta tell you though, to your viewer, fuck you, Doug. I'm having some wine. Friday night special episode. I had my 1875 cigar. I'm loving life. During time with Vinny, I'm having.
Well, you headed it. You headed it, cigars and wine. They know what it's about tonight. You didn't backdoor anybody.
I prefaced. I should have a water bottle. So with that being said, though, I agree with you. So like I'm always mixed, right? I'm like on one end, I'm like, I'm glad I was away from that life, but on the other end, like there's some things that happen that like it's like it's like that access, right? Of like the law's here, right? And they can't do shit for you, but you don't want to hand on the street because you're fucking an adult. It's like like I kind of wish once in a while, you had.
It's like Tom, you own a house, you have a $100,000 credit line that you are deadly strict against paying interest on. You know you would never go to it. Are you glad you have it?
Agreed. Especially in this area.
That's the bottom line.
Because it could be another creditor that might be asking you for money and they could squash it,
Yeah, right. You're glad you have it. It's always that peace of mind factor. And I think when you're a Brooklyn guy and you've heard so many stories about innocent people getting caught up in nonsense. Yeah. What happens if, I look at it like, you go down the highway, guy's going 80, it's a 55 zone. That's for the other guy, not me. Yeah. You make an illegal U-turn. That's for the other guy, not me. One day it's you. Yeah. No one. And just in case it's me one day, I'm glad I know somebody. It sounds stupid, but that's how I look at it. So where we used to ask on the old show, I'm going to ask you here. Sure. If you could have dinner with any wise guy, past or present, who would it be and why? Oh boy, that's a good question. And in the comments, drop her years review below. Okay. Yeah, I don't see the comments. I still don't. No driving. Tony probably not driving. Past or present, you could have dinner with any wise guy, unencumbered, sit down for like we're doing 3-4 hours. Dead or alive. Dead or alive. Dead or alive in history or present. Who would it be and why? It will be Luciano. I think it'll be Luciano. I agree with that because I'm also Luciano and so I'm such a fucking nerd. When I went to Sicily, I've been to Sicily 3 times. One of the times I went to Sicily, I had to go to Calabrian, which he was born. I didn't find the house. I didn't like when you go there, you can't be like, oh, where was he born? It's weird. But I went to the Calabrian, I took pictures, and like it was kind of a big deal. It was the birthplace of the American mob, and I actually went to where he was born. Kind of weird, but I went. You want to hear a bigger nerd? Shoot. I took my son when he was 7 years old, right near me, the cemetery, St. John's. Al Capone's in. Yeah. Luciano's in. John Gotti's in. And I went with my son and showed them those three. And my wife at the time tells me, "You realize my father's there, right? Did you bring him there?" So when we go for cigars, when you come in New York, I
Yeah,
will bring you to Luciano's.
I'm in.
He's in the same section with Capone. He's
I'm
right
in.
there. Yeah, it's St. John Cemetery. That's what
Wait,
it is.
Capone was it? Capone's buried in New York?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
I'm 99% sure. The wine
I
might
know
be
St. John's
pretty,
Cemetery has like everybody.
because it was the only New York, because Queens had dirt roads in 1935, 40. Everyone lived in Manhattan, and this was the suburbs, Queens. And these were all the cemeteries were here. There's so many cemeteries here. You know who I went to? You want to hear what a nerd I am? You're going to think I'm a total jerk off.
Nah, I will not.
But your crowd will. I'm a big Equalizer fan, not Denzel, although I love Denzel. The Equalizer show in the 80s. You're probably too young. With Edward Woodward. Amazing. He played an ex-CIA guy that now wants to do well for people. He denounced the life. He put a little ad in the paper. People would call him for free. He'd help them out. Great show. Well, Robert Lansing was an actor that was in that. I found Robert Lansing on Cypress Hills at the Jewish cemetery, and I went to the tomb. You would think I was seeing Vishnu or someone, and I'm standing there saying, "Wow, Edward Woodward must have been here." And that, like, what a moron. You know, you'd think I'd go do something positive with my life. But these are the things like you. I went in my neighborhood, there was Spartan's Restaurant. That's where Goodfellas was filmed, where they killed Frank Vincent. And I went like this to the bar. I put my hand over the bar. You would think I was at the tombs. That's just me. I love this. I love mob genre. I love mob genre. I love it.
Okay, outside of New York, what have you followed? What's your interest? I told you I have a keen interest, and for some reason, it's developing more and more outside of New York. What's your area outside of New York that you want to maybe brush up on and learn more about?
It's foolish, but I'll tell you. You're gonna laugh. Pennsylvania, the Amish.
Amish Mafia.
I want to learn a little bit. Well, back in the day, you couldn't have a camera out. Back in the day, you hold them up in a convenience store. I'll take a picture if you give me your money. Now it's kind of different. And
yeah.
I would like to, and I really would like to know about the Jewish culture. Yeah. I think it's very interesting. I used to joke around with my partner who I used to move games with. I said, "Oh, you guys, come on. You killed Jesus and took up accounting." I used to joke around like that with him. But I would like to know. I think.
Well, in fairness to the Jews, it was at the behest of the Romans.
Yes. Yeah. And I always thought that was very interesting. And I will tell you that they stick together. And I give the Hasidim credit. I really do. I think it's very fascinating. And I have to tell you, I was going through a very tough time. My friend was too. My friend liked the girl who passed away. So I was going through a bipolar time. He went to the temple. He's Jewish. We spoke to a rabbi who emails me to this day. And I asked him, I said, could he sit in the chapel, I guess it's called, and he just wants to pray. He said, sure. He opened the place up. So I sat with him and I said, the reason why I brought him here is because of this, but I have bipolar issues. And could you talk to me? This guy talked to me for 2 hours, like we're talking here. I'm not Jewish. I'm not Jewish. I'm not of his faith. I wasn't congregate. And he took time to speak to me. And to me, that's a good man. And I think we all have some humanism, humanity in us. I think some of us are scared to show it because we're afraid to get hurt. I think some of us are afraid because of social norms. In England, it was you could look, don't touch, very stoic. And I think that now times have changed. I think we need each other more now than we ever did, Tom. I do. I think 9/11 was a kumbaya thing. Everybody could hug. COVID was very isolated. You couldn't hug people. In fact, if you looked at your next door neighbor and he was sneezing, you looked at him like he had a rifle pointed at you.
Yeah.
You hated people that looked like they might be ill. You might have known them for a lifetime. So we learned to be self-sufficient the last year and a half. We learned that, hey, it's us. We have to rely on ourselves. And now I think we have to realize, and I think we have that, we need people.
Agreed.
And so you got to forgive people because you know what? You've been forgiven for something in your life. And what makes you any better than anybody else? Now, of course, someone rapes someone or something, I'm not forgiving it. But,
Yeah.
Things that didn't really bother you, things that weren't so ludicrous where you can't even fathom it, enough is enough. We're adults. We're not 18 in the high school. I don't talk to you today. He's not talking to her tomorrow. Enough already.
Good point.
And that's what with the mob genre, that's what I get. It's like, do your content. That's what got you here. Ignore people. You don't have to talk to people if you don't want,
True.
but it takes away from your truth. And you're getting sucked into something that you never signed on for.
Yep.
So why let people rule you? You're letting them rule your life. And I'm not falling into it. I'm sorry. If I stayed at 508 or whatever I have subs forever, it was meant to be. So be it. And I helped one kid. They helped me more than they could ever imagine. They really do. I was in a bad mood today. Well, last night, got on with them, felt great, watched the movie, went to sleep. This is what it's all about, a human connection. And I know you believe in that.
100%.
With your human connection and
energy as well.
Absolutely. I really believe positive energy does follow positive energy. I really do. In fact, FBS's wife was doing The Secret and reading The Secret on her channel. She's terrific. And New Beginnings with Shanna. And I thought it was great. I read that book 17 years ago.
The whole behind The Secret is also Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, Attracted Will Come. Like that's the OG Bible. And then The Secret, I believe, but I 1,000% categorically align with that, 100%.
Well, listen, I don't think it's any coincidence. Like you have people that'll drop their wallet with $500 in it while they're running, trip over another one with 800 in it. I think people make their own luck. Now, listen, I think bad luck bestows people, but I think that people use that as a crutch or use it as a pole vault to get over and say, hey, I made it past. Some people like adversity because they can prove that everyone's wrong and they can make it. And that's what I learned at 60. So answering your question probably about my truth is not letting my past define me anymore. It's letting me prop me up to different heights that I never could have imagined.
Agreed.
So now do you have a book out?
I do.
New Theory? You do. I'm gonna get an autographed copy, right? If I give you my address.
Absolutely. Well, I have a book, X Factor Selling System. I will gladly send you a copy. I'm gonna probably do a mini series on. So I have a 4-piece system, how to best influence people, not based off of what you want, on how they're wired. If you kind of plug into how they're wired, you can influence them in any way. So I'm going to be more than happy to send you a book. You have my email, text, send me your address. I'll send you a book. So hold on, I want to get to some of the comments because these folks have been great about hanging out.
And say hello for me to some of them that come on me.
Absolutely. So Chestro, I like saying Italian. Interested outside of New York, I would say right now, I'm super interested in Canada. Super interested with Antonio Nicaso coming on. That's my area of interest. What I want to do is we're going to wrap up soon, but before we wrap up is in the comments below, what questions? So I don't want you to think I'm look weird because what happens is I'm toggling back and forth. So now I'm going to ask, please drop any questions you have for Vinny, and I'll read them accordingly. If I have anything for me, I'd be more than happy to answer. I think people are pretty good about answering questions before. I think I picked
absolutely.
Up but let's put Vinny's feet to the fire. Let's have a little fun. He had a little wine. I had a little wine, and let's see where we come. So, any questions for Vinny? Please shoot. I'm gonna probably throw some of my own in as well. One question I have for Vinny, I'll start the questions off, is where do you want your YouTube channel to be in a year from now?
I want it to be in a place where people actually understand what it's about. I wanted it to be a hybrid channel. I want it to be interactive where when they tell me how their day's going, we can talk about it, not only about me. Because if I really want to help people, the bottom line is I have to listen also. So
True.
I welcome people on my show. I figured out how to link them in because I'm such an idiot on the computer. But they're welcome to come on and talk about their day. And everyone has a bad day unless you're very, very, very fortunate. So at one time or another, everyone will come on my show if they want to show themselves or just block their face. And that's what I want. I want a freedom of exchange where no one has to be embarrassed. And I'm very fortunate because my comments, I tell you, Tom, everyone talks to each other. They talk to me. I try to interface with them. And I think that's what I wanted my channel to be. So I'm so fortunate that it's working out the way I wanted it to.
Love it. So Vinny, we're gonna shoot off some questions.
Yeah,
Vinny, how do you like being live with Tom tonight?
I love it. I love it. I told you. I don't know if you were here at the beginning. I think I may have said it then. When I used to watch Tom in his last incarnation with his ex-partner, I never believed for a second that I would ever. And to me, it's an honor because he's an accomplished guy.
Wow.
Well, you are, Tom. For me to sit with you and talk to you, and you actually had an interest in what my life was about. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing. And that's why I think communication is so important, even in the comment section, because people get a sense of what people are about. But that's the answer. I love it.
So I guess maybe I'll call this transference. I came into the podcast late. Was Vinny a made man? So I'm going to explain a little bit about that.
No. I will tell you, I was approached and asked if I'd be interested in the 90s when I was making a ton of cash. And I said no.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean I wasn't the passing around the name yet where my name was passed around to the families for an okay. But I was just asked one night, hey, listen, the way things are going, maybe down the line. And I said, not for me. And and the guy totally respected it and said, I didn't think it was, but I have to ask.
Love it. Is Vinny still living in Brooklyn?
No, I'm in Queens.
Okay.
Been out of Brooklyn for 30 years.
Vinny, why does sour cream have an expiration date?
That's a good question, actually. I don't know.
Supposedly from Al Capone, but I don't know if that's true.
What?
Supposedly milk has an expiration date because Al Capone, but I don't know if that's true.
I don't know. I don't know.
All right, so hold on. There's a lot of questions. Hold on.
That's fine.
Is the food still good in Brooklyn?
Yeah, it is. Not as much as it used to be, but yeah, there's some really good restaurants. If you want a few Italian restaurants, like I'll give you right off the bat. I can give you a couple in Queens. Parkside is excellent. Tough Tony, wise guy. Barossa's is very good near me. I'm friends with the owner. Bamonte's, which is a staple. In Brooklyn, the usual Carolinas and got Julio's, the ones that have been around since Jesus.
Wait, but Bamonte's in Queens?
Oh, actually Brooklyn. It's in. I don't know if it's Williamsburg or Greenpoint. I think it's Greenpoint.
I've been dying to go there.
Good place. Parkside's better.
Vinny, how do we get your picks? Oh, probably for gambling. How did they get your picks?
Come on my channel.
Okay.
And you don't have to subscribe. That's how cool I am. I'll give them the anyway.
What's your favorite bakery in Brooklyn?
It used to be Scala on Avenue X. I don't think it's there anymore.
Don't laugh at me, but I like Villa Bate. I know it's kind of played out. What do you think about Villa Bate?
Who?
Villa Bate, the one on 18th Avenue.
I haven't been there in years.
It's a little bit of touristy at this point.
Oh, is it?
Let me just see. When are we going to get the Brooklyn Guy Everyday Reality Tour with a body camera?
I'm going this week with one of my subs. I'll give him a mind your own business. No, shine box. Sorry, the wine's talking. We're
Yeah.
going out. I connected with him. We're going out. Give him a plug. He's a terrific guy, Joe. We're going out to Bensonhurst. It'll be a challenge to see if anyone speaks English, but I'm going to go out to store owners. I do have someone who came from 18th Avenue out in Long Island. I'm going to interview him. Terrific guy, and he knows all the stories from 18th. I'm setting that up. Yes, next week.
Florida attorney. I'm going to shout out you, Florida attorney. I believe Florida attorney has been a late kind of viewer of the show, so welcome. It's a great question. Why do Slim Chance and Fat Chance mean the same thing?
That's good.
A little too much wine, forgive me.
No, that's actually good.
So why do you think? Why do you think they mean the same thing?
Why do I think?
Yeah.
I think because Slim Chance means there's no chance, and a Fat Chance means I don't know. Maybe without the wine I can answer. I'm sorry, I can't.
No worries. Guy called you Vinyl, but Vinny,
Finals.
who is the biggest snake that you dealt with in Brooklyn? That's a good question.
Oh, yes, it is. I have to say Tommy Spiro, Shorty's nephew, because he owed me money. I beat him for money, and he beat me.
Florida attorney, man. I'm gonna send him a super chat. Why do you drive on the parkway and park on the driveway?
Because George Carlin told me to.
Love it. Oh, wait a second. There's a Pastosis by me. Vinny, do you miss Pastosis?
I missed Pastosis.
Do you miss Pastosis?
I don't even know what Pastosis is at 18th Avenue.
Pastosis is I think they started as raviolis.
Oh.
And big Brooklyn staple. And now they migrated over to Jersey and they have multiple stores.
I never heard of it, honestly. But that tells you how much I'm Italian.
So I think this is for both of us, as of the plane. I gotta be honest, we don't have planes fly over that often. So I hope everything's okay. Question. You're both very proud of your Italian heritage. Obviously, what do you think we can do to help the younger generation carry on traditions with the younger generations being so different than us? I'll let you go first. It's a great question.
I think Tom's new book with the new theory element should
There you go.
deal with that.
Well, I hope to make more money, but in terms of day to day and maybe rituals or certain things, what do you think?
You know what? I don't honestly know if we could do it anymore. I'll tell you, the nuclear family to me broke up when the wife started working, and now Junior got a piece of pizza and his sister grabbed a sandwich because there was no dinner table at 6 p.m. If you remember, all big decisions were made at the kitchen table. You could have had $100,000 living room. At the kitchen table, if those walls had ears, you could put people away for 10,000 years. And I think that went away. And I think when that went away, that was a very Italian thing, the kitchen table.
Hold on. Are you still doing Sunday dinners?
No, not really. Not Italian. Not Italian. But I think this is evolution. I think things changed. And I think that old saying is, as much as things change, they stay the same. It's not true. That's not true.
Well, I want to answer.
I used to think it was, but it was.
I want to answer on my side.
Yeah.
So I'm guilty of, I don't do the pasta Sunday dinners, partly because I'm keto now. But number two, I know, right? But number two, my mother was alive. There would be no keto. And I was thinner back then, ironically. But number two is, I think that we can at least enlighten our kids and share with our kids, maybe go to San Gennaro's, go to the Feast in Hoboken, go to in Queens, have some great feast in August for some of the Sicilian towns. So
yeah, I think Carmel and all that.
I think it'll at least bring your children around the culture and then try to get them to at least get interested in somewhat. It will never be the same. And Vinny says it best, it might be a sign of progress, but also,
you know what,
try to
Tom, though, you know what I think would help it a little, but people don't do it as much, church. And I'm not a holy roller, but I think church instills that, the Christmas night and all the stuff that entails with traditional values, and I think we got away from that. And I'm guilty of it too. But I think if you immerse yourself with like Knights of Columbus and all that stuff, where people are like-minded, the problem is no one really is like. Go down your pockets. How many people are like-minded like you? You're lucky if you find two. You know, back then, like-minded, their house was torched, and that's the thing now. The world has changed. There's so much diversity. I think it's very hard.
Agreed. My fiance posted that she's hungry, so I got to go soon.
Oh no, please.
But we'll wrap up in about a few minutes.
I'm sorry I held them, fiance. I'm sorry I kept them on.
Trust me, trust me. I will bring Jocelyn to Queens. You'll meet her.
Absolutely,
you'll love her, and to be honest with you, she will love you equally as much because she respects guys like you just as much as I do. So, Vinny, my pleasure. Vinny, would you say Bensonhurst is the best place in the world to grow
up? It was.
Okay.
I think you said it best, Tom, the other night on my show, where for every person that you hear that was a big gangster in Bensonhurst, 50-fold people came out that were doctors, chiropractors. We don't talk about them. You know why? No one wants to hear about my friend who graduated medical school that came from my block. You want to hear about mob stuff. But I think it was great because if you were strong enough and you had two parents that kept you on the right track, you realized what was right and wrong much better than if you were in another neighborhood where you weren't presented the challenges of what is right and wrong. So you were stronger leaving that neighborhood if you went on the right path. You knew what to look for because you were smarter.
Good point. Who is your favorite pro fighter of all time?
Muhammad Ali.
Wow. I love it. Vinny, do you know when you're out of invisible ink? I don't know what that means, but
if this is your trolling, I love it.
Now, if I'm Florida attorney who generally has fun comments, but
that's fine.
Have you ever lived anywhere outside of the NYC region?
Yeah, I lived in England for 1.5 years. I worked in England.
Whoa. The food's terrible. It rains all the time.
91 and 92. I lived in England. I worked in England.
Little more. Vinny, this is armchair NBA. I gotta give him a sworn that.
You what?
There's only two reasons that make you move.
Oh no, my job.
Money. A woman or money?
Job.
Okay.
Money. And they paid me in American. Back then, you went into, I remember they charged you like 5 pence for ketchup in McDonald's. And like 2 hamburgers were like $9 American back then. But I got paid American. And my dad was ill. And I just got married at the time. And I was offered the job. And I went. And they offered me a 3-year contract. I got back in 18 months. But the money was prohibitively more than I was offered here. And I worked for JP Morgan Chase back then.
Oh wow!
It wasn't Chase, it was JP Morgan. Then I went to Kidder Peabody.
Prior to the merger, yeah.
Yeah, I went to Kidder Peabody, and then I ended up in Bensonhurst.
So, are you still working, or you're retired?
No, retired.
God bless.
What I'll tell you, my retirement was an interesting story. I had a stroke in 2006.
What?
Because of diabetes. I didn't know I was diabetic. I went to get my son a bottle of water out of the bottom refrigerator, and I woke up in the hospital. They said, they come over. Did you take your insulin? What? I'm not diabetic. Your sugar's 800. They actually looked at my bracelet to make sure I was talking to the right guy. I had a stroke. So what happened was this was before the crash in 2007. I begged my boss that I could take a buyout. When the buyout day came, I almost didn't get it because, if you're on disability, you're not an employee.
Oh, good point.
And I had to run off disability. Thank God I got it. And the market crashed 5 months later, and 100 people got laid off. I was very fortunate.
When did you officially retire?
2006, December.
So are you? I mean, I hope you don't mind me asking.
No.
You're at a point that, hey, economically you're okay, so now you're doing things that matter to you at this point, I guess.
I'm okay. My son's school, $40 a year. It's hard, but
Where's he go to school?
NYU, Tish.
God bless.
Well, he's out now, and he's an actor. And
Hold on, 160 to be an actor.
well, he went to school for Tish for acting.
But then you know what? When he's big, he will be on both of our shows.
Yes, he will. You know what, Tom? I begged him to come on my show to just talk about. I said, won't even say you're my son. Talk about acting school. You know, we had Eric Roberts' wife teaching him and stuff like that. He has a lot of cool stories. He won't. He's very shy with that.
Hold on, I'm getting okay, I guess I'll ask it. So I guess any questions.
Yeah.
How long will it take for FBS to have Tony Pizza behind bars? I don't know exactly what that means, but I guess
I will tell you, and anybody who knows me, your guys don't, or women. I tell it the way it is because I'm not on here because I know I'm not getting 1,000 subs for super chat, so I could care less.
Yeah.
I don't believe for a second FBS ratted him out. Don't believe it for a second.
I don't think so either. I think
not at all. I would bet on that, and I like the game. And I don't think that any of his friends or family did either because they would ask him first. They would ask him first. They wouldn't just go behind his back. Shannon's not going behind his back and calling and saying, "Oh, guess what I did?" No, not happening. I think, you have a lot of people that say they're fans. I notice for a fact, and I don't do it. A lot of people that are fans that are jealous and will press the dislike button. There's a friend of mine told me about that. So don't think for a second it didn't have to be one of his people trying to set up BS up.
So next question is a question I have, and I hope my beautiful fiance is still watching. So I am probably, along with you, we're probably the two most unlikely YouTubers, right? Generally, YouTubers have a good camera, a whole bunch of stuff. So I can speak for myself, and then I'm going to ask you. My fiance, my love, hope you're watching, has been more than supportive, overly supportive.
Until tonight.
Until tonight.
It's going to kill you when you walk inside.
I think May 8th will help me. I made her like kind of a toast with like a little bit of tomato, mozzarella, balsamic vinegar, with a little bit of lettuce, and I got a 7.5 on it. I was so hoping it was higher, and then what happened was she left some like behind this morning because I made it last night, and I had it and it was 7.5. So we might need another cooking show, and I want you on. Do you cook well?
I make two good things. I'm being serious. I make cakes.
Oh, wow.
And that's because I loved them before I was diabetic.
Wait, by the way, I didn't see that coming.
And I make
cake.
There's the wine. And I make good ones too. And white cake. I love white frosting. And gnocchi.
By the way.
Like that.
So and just so you know, this is how my fiance is, right?
What's her name, by the way?
Jocelyn.
Jocelyn, I'm very sorry I've held him.
No, you don't get it. The way she is I would be in a heap of shit if I'm 3 hours outside, the baby's like running around, she's a bottle, needs this, needs that. But I know she likes you. And the fact that she likes you, I'm like semi off the hook. So salute to you and salute to Jocelyn.
Thank you, dear.
So, hold on, I got some more questions for you. Is Tony Pizza? How is Tony Pizza really in York, Pennsylvania right now? I don't know how you know that, but
I don't know. I'm guessing. If I had to guess, New York.
Hold on, babe. Babe, thumbs up for Mr. Vinny. And if you get the thumbs up, we'll go visit him. And to be honest with you, she's about like soul, about energy. I know she's gonna put a thumbs up. She's gonna probably find the emoji with the baby kicking in her face. Nevertheless, I know she's gonna do that. Let me just see some more. Here's my question. So,
go ahead.
My fiance has been more than supportive along my YouTube journey. I have few shows, podcasts. You can argue that yeah, there's opportunity cost. I'm still in the working mode where I can be like, hey, I can do X, Y, and Z and earn a lot more money. And I'm very fortunate we have two companies that do make us comfortable. But let me ask you, to your wife, kids, whoever in your universe, I'm gonna do Vinny the Brooklyn guy. What was the reaction initially, and then where do they land now?
My son said, Dad, I'm surprised the mirror when you walk by doesn't tell you to go fuck yourself. That's one thing. He thinks I'm a narcissist because I was a front man in a band and all that stuff in the 80s. No, supportive. My son's supportive. He and for an actor, you would think he's very shy for an actor. Like you would think
actors
shy.
Part and parcel in their personal life are very shy.
Very shy.
You know this, and your son will know this. It's their profession, so they turn it on professionally, but they're probably the first privately to not want to do this.
I'll tell you, Al Pacino told me. I used to play ball with Al Pacino in the 80s on his softball team.
What?
Yeah, we used to play ball, and what happened was I saw him Merchant of Venice, and I was talking to him when he walked out, and he said, what I do is after I finish a Broadway part, I go to the mirror and say, listen, I have to leave. It's been wonderful being you. Oh, Al's a little nuts, but he said, but I have to let you go now. And he said, it hasn't failed me in 50 years.
Wow.
And he said, John Casal taught him that.
Who was that? Forgive me.
John Casal, Fredo in The Godfather.
Lexi, Tom, go put your kid to bed. Jocelyn needs a break. You're 100% right. I will so take care of my fiance tonight and tomorrow. Okay. Oh, you got the thumbs up from the fiance. So we are coming to Queens.
I hope you do.
Oh no!
I'll come to Jersey. I'll come to Jersey. I don't care.
Oh, we would absolutely we would be honored
to
host you. You do have some more questions though. You're not off the hook.
No, I'm here. I got half a bottle left.
What's your favorite pasta?
I thought you said prostitute. I was going to say that was a while ago, and that was Amber. My favorite pasta. It used to be gnocchi, but I'm diabetic, so I really have to be careful. But linguine with garlic and oil.
So you can tell I'm a mama's boy, and I don't want our daughter, with I share Jocelyn. I hope she's a daddy's girl, but I was a mama's boy.
Okay.
And the two things, and any Italian American as yourself, there was two dishes that are just hard to make at home, right? So like I don't know about you, but like growing up in an Italian American household, you generally were not allowed, nor did you eat outside the home. And if you did, it wasn't like the only culture that eats outside the home in their own food is Indian. So actually a lot of Indians at an Indian restaurant, I know it's good. But as far as Italians, we didn't eat outside the home. You know that. So, but the two dishes that are super difficult to make at home are number one, a risotto. You know that risotto?
Yeah, oh, sure.
It's hard. It's a pain in the fucking ass.
Yeah, it's
and
good.
Dude, gnocchi. Gnocchi's not easy.
Gnocchi's hard. I've tried it. I'm not good at it, but the gnocchi's great.
Was it potato pasta?
Potato pasta, yeah. But it's great. And you know what is the best on gnocchi? The hell is it called? Oh my God, the wine has gotten to me. Pesto sauce.
I've had pesto gnocchi
on gnocchi because the gnocchi soaks it up. It's amazing. You know what? You know why we have to talk? You know why we have to talk about cooking? Because someone said this to me on my email to me. It's very true. Tom, the mob genre, everyone thinks it's such a major thing. If you take Gravano and Frances out of it, probably the average viewership is 4,000 subscribers, 3,000.
100%.
Cooking shows have 150,000. That's why I did a hybrid channel.
Love it. That's why you don't want to limit your exposure. And it's funny because I had Mike Francis on at 17. When the show broke up,
had Francis on?
And so I'll send you a link. 17, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, but here's the thing though. as everybody knows, I have a face for radio.
That's
So,
not true.
so
Why do you say that?
well, I'm very lucky to have a beautiful fiance, but I was audio up until candidly, with the exception of a few videos. Prior to Panisi, I was mostly audio. I decided to do YouTube and video shortly thereafter. So what I'm saying is, I have 2017 Interior Frenzies. I reached. I'll share that on the community again. I'll send you a copy, as well as I reached out again to. I used to deal with him directly, and he was always pretty good about responding post interview. It's about 4 years ago. So now I deal with his. I don't know if it's person who does his videos, producer, PR person. So I reached out again, and hopefully he'll be back on soon.
Really?
Yeah, I'm personal friends with Karen Gravano. Karen's gonna be coming on. She's away for a little while, so she'll be coming on. Ramona Rizzo's coming on next week. She's very close with Karen. Sammy getting on is a little bit of some massaging, but I believe hopefully he'll come on. I'd like for him to come on again. My cousin Anthony married his niece Rena. It's my first cousin, but again, I'm very open about it. The reason why, probably a good thing, although I probably would have a lot more stories, probably much less successful. My mother annexed us any parts of our family that was like involved with the mob. She just was like, fuck no. So we were estranged from that part of the family, but he married Sammy's niece. But I don't I can't pull the family card. It's not like, oh, well, was related to you. Yeah. So with Sammy, I met Gerard. I know Gerard. I know Karen really well personally. But to be honest with you, I know Karen well. But because she's a friend, I don't want to be like, oh, get your father on. Because she's my friend. She's a personal friend. So we'll get her on. I actually want to get her on with her daughter because I want to kind of follow. There was a book. I didn't read it. I'll be honest with you. But I listened to podcasts. It was called Mob Adjacent, right? And here's another part outside of New York about the mob where I'm fascinated. I'm also fascinated about the serendipitous and adjacent effects of the mob, right? Not just the made guys and the powerful guys and, who was an associate, but what did the mob do to the surrounding communities, right? I know people that busted out economically because of the mob. I knew people that had parents that were in the mob and now they're estranged or they don't talk or they were in jail. So I'm a little fascinated about that. So I want to have Karen on with her daughter.
Yeah.
I want them to promote the show. I think it kind of the season ended, but I kind of want to learn a little bit about that, the adjacent part of the mob. So Karen should be coming on soon. Ramona's coming on next week. So there'll be some dialogue about not just about the mobsters, but what is the effect of those that were in the life and what did it have effect, on those families,
Yeah, I'll tell you something, talking about Mike Frances, his father was very close to being the Godfather. He if he wasn't in jail, he would have been the boss.
100%.
And he would have been a chin of that family because he was no joke. No one would screw around with him. But I tell you, he it's interesting getting back, being that you mentioned the mob. You hear mob neighborhoods were really safe. You could walk at 3:00 in the morning, right? Yeah. But what was the price for that? You were paying for private police because stores were paying protection money.
Yep.
Down the block. So you were pretty much paying for that private policing. And people don't look at it that way. Listen, do I think that mob areas are much more less likely to be accosted if you being accosted? Of course. Agreed. But at what price though? The mob neighborhood is also corrupting kids. Could be your son. Taking protection money off Italian Americans when they're supposed to be there to help Italian Americans. So where's the line?
Good point.
And that's what people don't talk about.
Lexi, I've never spoken directly to Sammy because when I was friends with Karen, I've always been friends with Karen for about 10, 11 years now. He was in jail. I'm part of getting out. I just separated church and state, so I haven't spoken directly to Sammy. But Karen, I do talk to fairly regularly in terms of text. And again, hopefully we'll get her on the show recently.
What is her feeling on all these mob genre shows? Other than
Well,
her dad, does she talk about anything?
we talked over text. So what happened was we were featured in Daily News,
No.
and it showed the rise of the mobcast or the mob father, whatever it was, right? So it showed the top four in that article. It was Francis, Sammy, A-Light, and then John and I. So that was an article. So obviously I sent her the digital. I sent her the a copy of the print. So she, she obviously shared with her father. And then I did say to her, say, hey, I would like for you to come on. I see. So here's what I want. So she's a friend, but also here's what I want for the show. I don't want her to come on to combat MobTube. She has better things to do with her life. What I do want her to come on is with her daughter and kind of share their experience with Families of the Mafia, which is a show on MTV, and then also kind of like where they are today. Again, I'm really interested in. So again, NBA term will resonate with you. There's two things that MBAs look at when they get into any business dealing. What is the exit strategy, which I think the mob fucking fails at, with the exception of the Genovese family and some of the American Italian organized crime, but like
And exposure.
What is the agreed? What is the exit strategy and exposure, right? And then also the outcomes, like what is a long game? What is the outcome? How will this end? And that's what I'm fascinated with, like he was a piece of American history, right?
Absolutely.
So like if you chat with his daughter and granddaughter, it's like, hey, where did you land and what does it mean to you? Like I would be super fascinated. I believe her name is Karina. Like, what does a mom mean to you? Like, do you care? Like, that's your grandfather. So like when she comes on, I want to ask her those questions. And I understand she's a younger lady. She like works her ass off. I watch a show a little bit. She's trying to make a name for herself. So like if you're Karen Gravano, right? Like there's no way you could escape being Sammy DeBull's daughter. There's no way, right? But if you're the granddaughter and you want to create your own identity, I think it's a little easier, right? But also like, where do you land? It's like that's the shit I'm fascinated with.
Yeah, the mob stuff. I'll tell you the truth. Angel Gotti has come on my show, not on my show, in comments, and I tell my people straight out, Tom. I say, if you're going to ask her what flavor ice cream her father wanted, I'm taking you off the channel. You won't be on tonight. Leave her alone. She wants to listen. I might not be that interesting, but leave her alone. Enough is enough already. What do you think? You're the only one that's ever asked these questions. But I will tell you one thing that I found. I'll give you a question, just like my truth question.
Yeah.
I have to think, as an MBA to MBA, that you are very focused in exit strategy because all things come to an end. So I could tell. So when you go into something, knowing it's probably going to end, not probably, unless it's your wife, end. And even at that, you saw that. What's the difference? Well, I have to put you on the spot. What's the difference when you go in? Do you think you're going in any venture half-cocked because you know it's going to end eventually?
No, you're going all in, knowing and compensating for the exit strategy.
But do you hold yourself back at all not to get hurt by the end, the eventual end? Like, do you distance yourself?
Not on the business end, meaning,
okay.
I could see if you got divorced.
Emotionally, right. Emotionally,
with somebody, but the business end, no, because you know what the exit strategy is. And the part that, like, I don't, how do I say this? The part that I'd like to express, and again, there's a lot of new viewers, older viewers, in terms of the breakup with John, is we both knew behind the scenes that it was going to exit at some point. And when it did exit, it didn't surprise me. It wasn't a big deal for me. It was a bigger deal, I believe, for certain viewers.
I still don't know why it ended. I have to read the blog. I know you don't have to say it. I don't know why it ended. I never caught the show. I never read his blogs, which you say that. And I'll go read it. You don't have to say it on here because I know you beat this to a dead horse. But I always, now, when you go into a venture, do you ever say to anyone, listen, we know this is not going to probably be around in 10 years. But then again, if you're starting a business like Theory, you want it to last forever. So where does the
Great question.
Where
So
does the break come?
You verbalize it when there's a goal, meaning, oh wow, we're gonna sell the podcast, or we're gonna sell the magazine, or sell something, and you kind of give a little bit of a carrot for you and them, so you have a mutual like kind of mount sign out of reach, right? In this case, is him and I kind of had not an exit strategy, but we did agree on a certain pivot point. The truth of the matter is, a pivot point happened a little earlier than later, but we also had a very good run. So like we weren't supposed to do 100 episodes. We
90 videos yet, or something like that.
Pardon?
90 videos, something like that. Yeah.
About south of 100. So
yeah, wow.
So in that sense, it worked really well. Now, what the viewers wanted, him and I coming on, doing a farewell tour and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, we weren't able to kind of agree on the exit strategy. That's where it got tricky, because we just didn't align on, hey, how do we wind this down? And I will speak to this. There's 100 videos out there. People are like, well, I'll just archive it. I would love to just keep it open and keep it on the channel. But the truth is, I'm venturing a new channel, and then I'm an SEO guy. I'm a digital marketing guy. So it fucks up if the legacy stuff is so strong,
you have to close the door.
Serve anything I do. So that's number one. Yeah. Number two, the NBA and Buttman, whether we like it or not, garnered over 100 comments a day, right?
So Who came up with the name? Who came up with the name?
Oh, my team.
Okay.
I have a team. I have a marketing creators behind me. They created a team, created a logo, and John signed off on it. Again, all respect to John. He was a gentleman about it.
I wish him well.
So now you keep the 90 videos up, right? So do I pay the girl that's $15, $20 an hour commenting on all the comments and respectfully about knocking the revenue port, but the 90 videos legacy are not going to make a lot of money for us because of legacy. And then I throw $1,000 a month to make $200 back, and it doesn't make sense. So everybody's like, well, why don't you just upload all 90 or all 100 on a third party channel? Fantastic, right? But YouTube requires 1,000 subs, 4,000 hours of video. So now, great, I upload it there. We still get our zero. Now there's $0 instead of a few dollars, and now you add my $15 an hour person.
Yeah.
So like respectfully, it's $1,000 a month just to like
reminisce,
money, right?
So you to reminisce. Yeah.
Agreed. So like, him and I will chat. I did release the part 1 through 9, which was our initial new theory portion. And I'm going to give you a little dirty secret. That's the best. And that's the crust of it. He was open. It was early. He didn't give a shit. I didn't give a shit. And it was like, it was raw. And then in terms of the NBA Buttman podcast, I'm actually fairly confident that him and I will work some sort of solution out.
I'm sure you will.
Have you ever heard of NFTs?
No.
NFT is a non-fungible token. It's called digital art. Have you ever heard of digital art?
Yes, my son just bought one. He bought one for 500 and went to 6,000.
Yes.
Unsigned. Yeah. Yeah.
The way it works
virtual
is
pictures.
The way it works is you can't take a picture of Mona Lisa and then sell it, right? You need to own it.
Right.
So, he doesn't know this yet. I haven't brought it up to him yet. I had a full bottle of Barolo. If people stuck around this long, it's worth to hear. I'll reach out to him.
I'm going to tell people who killed Hoffer in a minute because of this.
Agreed. I think we could NFT it. That's my opinion.
Maybe.
The thing that people got to understand about John's reasonable, and John's a lot smarter than people credit for.
I agree with that.
So we'll see where it goes. So like no ill will towards him.
No.
We'll kind of see where it goes. So hold on.
I'll tell you also quick, because I was going to say this 2 hours ago and I forgot. And I hope your girlfriend gives you 5 more minutes, your fiance 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
the show you did on Facebook and the breakdown financially was great.
Oh, you like that?
It was wonderful because now I know what I have to do to make $4. It's perfect.
I love it. Thank you, BK Sal Crook. I like the fact that he is supportive and has been really good about sponsoring the show. Tom, I don't think you did under 50 people 3 hours. I say new show's success. Grazie, Lexi. The Truth, thank you. I think a lot of the Truth's comments keep getting deleted. I saw a few of those. I have some moderators up. So The Truth, I don't know what you're writing. If you're getting deleted, I don't know. We do have a few mods. So it's not me. So hopefully that could all get worked out. God, there's a lot of comments still. A lot about Sammy. Negotiating while advancing retreat while scheming an exit strategy. That your mouth to God's ears. John and I did everything on a handshake, which worked out. But in retrospect, now I get why people have contracts, why they kind of work out stuff ahead of time. So to answer your question and the viewer's question, probably better to have everything in writing. I have contracts now. I've always been a handshake guy. It's an old school thing, right? But the reason why you have an agreement is, Vinny, you and I may disagree, but it doesn't hurt to have a little like signpost or guidepost that if one of us gets a little out of pocket, because it happens, then we can look into that and say, shit, you're right, or I'm right. Or so I'll probably have more agreements if any ventures I have. See, Sammy, the 8th. I'm just gonna go through some final questions before we wrap up. Ask Vinny if we can get a guitar solo.
Absolutely.
Is it near you? Get it. I will wait. Get it.
I actually do have it. Yeah.
Hold on. He's getting his guitar. I have.
Did I knock you off?
No, we're here. You have your guitar?
You there? Okay,
yeah,
right there.
Hold on. While he's getting his guitar, I have to visit the I gotta drain the Pisha deal. It's been a while. Give us 1 second. Put some more questions through. Listen, do me a favor.
Man.
Start your guitar solo. I have to use
I will play it if you sing it.
Hold on. I gotta take a leak.
Okay, go ahead.
Entertain while I'm gone. Give me 55 seconds. Hold on.
You're gonna sing Lay Lady Lay.
Oh, there you go.
All right. I hope everybody's doing good. And it says up here playing music. I can't believe that. It reads that in my audio settings. My God. Set up professional audio. I don't want to do that. Wait a second. I don't want to screw this up. I'm still on though. Let's see. I think I'm still on. I don't know if I'm in tune. That's on good.
I'm back. Nice.
All right, you're gonna sing "Lay Lady Lay," and I know you know it. Don't bullshit me.
Hey, lady, lay.
I'm a little out of tune now.
That's Bob Dylan.
Lay Lady Lay, yeah. Laying on the ground.
I don't know where this. Bob Dylan. A little bit over time, but play it. Fuck it.
Stay, lady, stay. Stay long. Stay, lady. There you go.
You gotta forgive me. Lay Lady Lay. I'm familiar with it.
Bob Dylan.
I know it's Bob Dylan,
You're
but
too
I don't know
young.
the words. No, you're not off the hook. You gotta play again. Where this is
Oh
like,
my God.
what else you got, Vincenz?
All right. Here I stand.
Oh, there you go.
Here. Met her in a club down in Ocho way. Champagne. I gotta remember it. Met her in a club down in Ocho way. Drink champagne.
Louder.
Tastes like cherry. Met her in a club down in Ocho way. Drink champagne. Tastes like cherry cola. See you later. She walked up to me and she asked me to dance. And I asked her name. That round boy, she said, la 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 There you go. My fingers hurt.
God bless.
Boom. So
God
anyway,
bless.
listen. I have had an amazing time with you tonight. Jocelyn's gonna kill me. She's gonna kill me.
I know we're gonna shut down. We had listen. I wanna give a shout out. Did you finish that bottle yet or no?
No, I have a little. I'm gonna have some fucking headache, and my diabetes. My number's gonna go. You know, this is what I have. I'm gonna give a, and then I need you to do something for me if you don't mind, because I don't know how to do it. I really don't know how to do it. This is the Libra. So anybody that's diabetic, I pray you're not. You to check your sugar, you do this.
Oh shit!
And then I God knows what the fuck it is now.
That's a one thing. Like,
oh, 107. My God, I'm drinking wine. It's going down. We got to be on more often. I need you to do something for me.
Please, before we wrap up, absolutely.
A guy that I used to write with.
Yeah.
I still write with. Dear friend of mine was a Secret Service agent, actually. He has some stories. I want to put him on, but I don't know if he can talk. He is an amazing writer, has come out with an album, has songs on his YouTube channel. I don't know how to drop the link. And I promised him I'd help him.
Okay.
He is Wilco, WILCO Songs Limited, LTD.
Wilco
Songs Limited.
Limited, LTD. Hold
and
on.
If you guys would be nice enough, the guys that know me.
Wilco World?
No, Wilco Songs Limited. It's a YouTube channel.
Oh, hold on.
And his songs are amazing. And I promised him, so if you could do Tom and I a favor and subscribe to him. I'm not even saying you have to listen to him, just subscribe. But you're going to be very, 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 what's the word I'm looking for? Surprised, because he's terrific. He really is. And I know him for 40 years, and I promised I'd do that for him. I don't know how to link people. I have to learn this stuff. And actually, I'm going to call you tomorrow if you're free. Jocelyn's going to kill me, but because I want to hear the real story of what happened, the real story. So I can call you and you can talk to me about it. And we're going to set up a time when we can meet. But thank you for dropping that link. I really appreciate it. People, please give him a chance.
He has 7 subs. Is that it? Steel Train Boston, Steel Train.
No.
Oh.
No. Have another bottle.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah, I know.
Wilco right? World?
WILCO, Wilco.
World, right?
No, Wilco Songs Limited.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See if you find him. Because I promised him, and I don't know how to do it, and I feel like an idiot.
Oh, here we go. Oh, 45 subs.
He's terrific.
He has, those roads will meet.
Yes.
Okay.
He's terrific. And if you guys would be nice enough to just go listen to one or subscribe and don't listen at your leisure, because I promised him, and he's such a good guy, and I'm going to try to get him on. You'd love him. He's such a wonderful human being. And he, out of his pocket, and like he said, what I said about YouTube, he wants one song, not for money, for someone to say, you know what? I'm going to ask that girl to marry me and change a generation. And he knows he did something all out of it. He spent 50 grand already doing songs. He's a great guy. And you'd really do me the favor doing it. And thank you so much for putting it on. And I love tonight. This was amazing. This was longer than the Godfather uncut, you know.
Yeah, this is the trilogy happening. It's the trilogy.
But, man, you're amazing. You're amazing. And I'm going to call you tomorrow. We're going to set up something.
100%.
And I want to talk to you anyway. Okay? Listen, thank you.
So we're going to wrap up. So subscribe to Wilco.
Wilco Songs Limited.
To Wilco Songs Limited. I dropped the link below.
Thank you so much.
Subscribe to Vinny, the Brooklyn guy.
Thank
So
you.
here's the thing, right? So like everybody has their lives, has their family, has their children, whatever it is. The fact that you hung out with us for over 3.5 hours is both a courtesy on your part to us, and we appreciate it. So Vincenz, we appreciate it. We're going to conclude and thank everybody for checking out.
I appreciate you too. Thank you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.